All righty. We are going to reconvene our meeting from 5:30. We started today, August 16, 2023. We went into closed shortly thereafter to address two sections under point 17, HR and one legal. We came out of close at 6:22 by Councillor Holiday. No, Councillor Run, sorry. And we have a motion arising, two or one? Two.
Just one
We have
motion.
you.
Just one motion, but number one.
You go for it.
Okay. To approve the formal creation of a deputy fire chief FTE position within the fire department using already allocated funding and include the town's organizational chart. Nothing further.
Excellent. Any debate, any comments, clarity? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
We may, sorry, I should have mentioned the FTE positions, if you're saying it's always through, may wonder what that acronym is. That's a full-time employee position.
Excellent. And just also to clarify, all the funds for this position are presently covered in the budget for 2023. So there's no cost implication. It is simply a transaction of making an official position. All right. Independence. We have adoptions of minutes 5.1. Can I get that, please? Looking at Hazel. Hazel?
Yeah, look at me.
I will take that. Council, any comments, concerns, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Question period. Question period is a section of council. It's 15 minutes in duration. It is a chance for the public to ask questions of council or administration for points of clarity or general inquiry. You can ask anything you want necessarily. We ask that you put it in writing prior to the meeting if possible, in an email, a text to your councillor. Any form of communication is good. And you can also ask it here if you wish. Is there any questions received by email or from council?
I have 3 in my possession.
Excellent. Bring it forward. Thank you. All right. I would like to bring up an admin inquiry at the council meeting being held on August 16th. I believe it is most beneficial to include the one-page double-sided mayor's message newsletter and utility bills. I understand there may be staffing challenges in having it ready in time with the distribution, but there are some residents like myself who appreciate the hard copy to read and keep for future updates. By including the newsletter and utility bills, it offers another effective way to communicate with residents alongside social media, town news feeds, and the website. Your support to add it on the month's agenda, added in this month's agenda is greatly appreciated. So that's more of a statement. A question, is it?
No, that was the one I submitted to Ukraine, and it's back in July. I had asked about having a paper copy put in with the utility bills. I see that there is a newsletter. It is electronically, but it would be nice to have another form other than just social media.
Yeah,
This should be under section 12.
Yeah.
This is the public
okay.
question period, so that one's.
That one, we'll deal with that later in the day, but we do have mayor's newsletters on utility bills, so, but we're gonna get to it in section 12, so no worries.
Yeah, so that's what.
Oh, that's safe, we're gonna do that one in section 12 as well.
Okay.
And that's Jonathan's.
That's an admin inquiry as well, section 12.
Section 12.
Question period, just got a whole lot smaller.
There's one there that is a question period, that is.
This fourth one,
There.
question for subdivision 10.2, subdivision extension 211 Dunham Lane. This one.
That goes in under the stat hearing, doesn't it? No, that's about a subdivision extension. Yeah.
This is a question regarding 10.2 subdivision extension 211 Dunham Lane Northwest 01-18 SD. I live next to this property and my neighbors and I are wondering what will be happening to it. What are the plans for it? We would like to see it as a green space for our community, such as a park. As a community, we enjoy the space as it is. I know we don't have a say in what happens with it, but it would be nice to be informed about this. Thank you, 661 Anderson Tracy. So
I can interject.
Yeah, please.
correct me if I'm wrong, because it's an agenda item, we can't handle that as a question from the public because we're still, we have yet to discuss that. Is that correct? So I appreciate the question, but following procedure as the MGA requires us to, we
All come in
we will
through
do.
the agenda. All right, well, that was a fast question.
We will answer
It'll
it.
still get answered. today.
Brenda's got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be answered still.
We have that.
Sorry, I'll just give me 1 second.
Just bring it up.
Yeah.
It's a great time to clarify some of the things we've seen
Yeah.
online as well.
Sorry, just 1 second here.
So while Verna's getting that, I have been asked by multiple residents, so I think it's a good time to ask that, and our CAO can answer that for us. The water usage of the, that we're providing Midwest, as well as apparently today, there was some work done around a hydrant with a vacuum truck that it didn't appear it was being metered actually, usage of the water. So just want to confirm how we're tracking the water and how Midwest, I know we can't go into contractual details, but if we can make that a public clarification, that would be awesome.
Sure. Brenda, if you would.
Yeah, no problem, through the chair, Councillor Gord. So I'm not particularly aware of the hydrovac truck. So we do have a contractual arrangement with TC Energy. I spoke with the lead contact there today, and we discussed the water issues as it seems to be a bit of a, no pun intended, hot topic. So we do have a contractual arrangement with them until the end of August, at which time they will have completed the work in this area and they will be moving farther south. So we will expect what they are working on here is going to dissipate in our area. So we do have a contractual arrangement. We are watching our water reservoirs for those that are concerned. At this particular junction, we have not, we don't have any concerns with our reservoir levels. They're still at a level that is perfectly adequate to service the community and to service any kind of, if we were to have a fire or things like that. It's really what we look at when we're assessing whether we're going to provide water to third parties. So I will look into the hydrovac. I'm not sure how they got access to any kind of a fire hydrant, because that's not the arrangement that we have. All of that water that they're receiving is metered, and they are working with our staff to ensure that we capture all of them volumes.
Thank you.
Just want to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one question on the agenda, and we are allowed to have the questions, we're just not allowed to answer it.
Oh,
I just pulled up, because we just redid our procedure by.
that's why it's right?
Yeah, so, yeah, we're allowed to hear it, which is good, because sometimes we get information that you
Yeah.
haven't heard before, or people have interest because it's on the agenda. So we just can't answer it at this time, but I'm sure it's going to get answered.
Yeah. Facebook is afloat with questions on water and restrictions.
That was another good one.
Right.
Topic, it's afloat.
Right. So, another thing just to mention is we've been on water restriction level 2 since 2013. That is the new normal. I don't know why it hasn't been just blankly said that that is the new normal. Odds and even watering days, that is the normal. So people say, oh, why aren't we on restrictions 1? It's no different than odds and evens. Other than the fact you could turn your hose on all day, but you wouldn't need to. So we're going to address the restriction level 2, so it encompasses the actual reality that it isn't actually a restriction. It's a simple program of odds and evens for watering. But I think we just need to say that as a council, and as SROC, it needs to be adopted to make it normal. Okay, let's get to this question. Who authorized the design and recent survey for RVs? For what purpose did we have to say if we lived in Black Diamond or Turner Valley when we all reside in Diamond Valley? How will this influence the creation of a Diamond Valley bylaw? For what purpose did we have to indicate if we own an RV, and should there not have been questions associated with this on size, age of the RV, and number of RVs in the household? I would like to know who is evaluating the survey and making recommendations for the purpose of drafting a bylaw using this very poor quality biased survey. The survey should have asked questions about resident roads, the snow removal concerns, if any, and so much more. Residents who currently do not own RVs or may never, all are residents of Diamond Valley and have a right to have equitable treatment when surveys are put out.
So we can
In
answer
the
that.
earlier months of 2023 council meetings, the auditors for each town presented their undertakings. Corinne Middleton spoke on a government grant that the town of Turner Valley had not fully received before amalgamation, as it was still outstanding. Corinne assured council she would stay on top of it and work to realize those outstanding grant funds. How is that going? And has that grant money been received? Well, I'm going to let you answer all of it. How's that sound?
I'm going to defer the first part of the question to my colleague, Ms. LeBlanc. She is familiar with the RV survey and some of the information gathered.
Thank you, CEO Mr.
Yeah, we could defer that to the RV discussion as well,
Because it is related.
because it is related to the RV discussion.
Yeah.
So why don't you answer part two and we'll take, because you're gonna be answering lots of questions on RV anyway. So why don't you answer number two and then we'll just take that to the RV discussion.
So if I may through the chair, I understand the second part of the question probably encompasses a couple of our grant programs. So the way the grants are currently operating is as soon as you spend the money through the town, we request some of that money's back. So as we file what they call these SFEs, then they advance the money to us. So as it stands, we still have on our CCBF one, which is used to be the federal gas tax one. Those funds we still have not received from the government because we haven't put any projects towards them recently. But once the projects that we are currently working on where they impact have the CCBF funding are completed, we will file the appropriate documentation and then they will give us the funds. It's not common anymore for the governments to advance you any funds. They wait till the projects are completed and you file the appropriate information. So with respect to those two, the MSI and the CCBF, we haven't received all of those funds yet. We will continue to work when we file the SFBs and we'll get those monies. And then as far as if it's the amalgamation monies, we have received all of those funds.
Thank you. I'm gonna go Cindy's, then I'm gonna go Gordon.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if they're referencing, we talked a little, I remember I brought it up, the disaster, the erosion control grant or money that we have sitting on our books on their audited financial statements. I'm wondering if they might have been those. Or no.
No, because they are not outstanding. So we still have those funds. I think these are in reference to the MSI and the CCBF because Turner Valley especially had some significant monies outstanding and
Right.
we had not received those funds because you have to attach an appropriate project to them in order to receive those monies.
Councilor,
Yeah, just as a follow-up, I read this as the amalgamation grants that have been discussed through the Alberta Community Partnership funding model. And so you're saying we've received that 1.25 million.
We have.
Nice.
excellent. Further. Good. So number two is answered. We'll get to the RV survey and all those lovely details when we get there. Good. Everyone happy? Okay, except those questions for information that we will address, but I'll take a motion just to acknowledge them.
I'll give you a motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, 7.1 statutory hearing for bylaw 2023-22. You have a little map here in front of you. This is for the land use. Corinne, would you like to address this one with Denise?
I am, if I may, through the chair, I'm going to pass this off to my colleague, Ms. Stewart, and she is going to take you through this particular bond.
Excellent.
Here.
There's it.
Here's it.
Sure. We can hear you.
as that voice of
More
state.
important, they can hear you as well. So,
Okay,
excellent.
so good evening, Mayor and Council. Good to be back in the office here. Today's application is to redesignate. There we go. I'll just go right into it. Thank you. Right. Okay, to redesignate a piece of land in Black Diamond, it is approximately 1,400 square meters. It is addressed at 112 First Avenue Southwest. It's currently zoned industrial, and the application is to amend it to Central Business District to facilitate the development of a 467 square meter health services building. A contractor services business is currently operating from the Quonset building, which is still on site. I just want to say our applicant is not in the gallery this evening to answer any questions folks have. I'll attempt to do my best. The stated purpose and intent of the Central Business District is to provide for the designation and regulation of certain land uses, which are intended to serve the pedestrian traffic. The district is being applied, the districting being applied to this property, which is best suited for accommodating the needs of the visiting public without inappropriate impacts upon the daily functioning of the community or inappropriate impacts upon the established commercial uses. So that's the stated purpose for Central Business District under the land use bylaw. The next slide is a closer shot of this subject parcel. So it's outlined there in blue. I'm going to speak to the municipal development plan as well in this slide. So there's there we go. Okay. There's access to this parcel off of First Avenue, off of First Street, as well as Government Road. So the First Avenue access is 6 meters in width. The First Street access is 5.45 meters in width. And the Government Road access is only, which is the one behind the hotel, it's only 3 meters in width. This application is supported by the municipal development plan in that it is renewing an existing lot for a new purpose with the professional health services building. Another objective of the municipal development plan states that, in quotes, where possible, vacant lots within the existing town should be developed and old dilapidated buildings redeveloped as permitted under the land use bylaw, and to maximize the use and of the existing utility and transportation system. Next slide, please. So the site is currently, this is the land use map. So this subject parcel, as you can see, is currently zoned industrial on the west, north, and east sides, and to the southeast. Those are all the pink colors. Those are parcels that are zoned central business already. Across on the south side of First Avenue are 2 residential lots, and they're used as residences. Kitty Corner at the corner of First Avenue and First Street in that southwest quadrant. It's the old manse and church, and it's direct control zoning. Directly on the west side of this parcel, it is zoned central business, but there are 2 existing lots with residential uses. So in the land use bylaw, under central business district, an existing residential dwelling is allowed to be added on to, but if it were to be destroyed or removed, it can only be replaced with a use that is a current listed use under the central business district. Okay, so that's directly on the west side, and the other parcel that's on the west side there is the existing medical arts center, Foothills Family Medical Arts Center, which I'm not sure if you folks know, but I'm surprised to know that there are 13 doctors operating. That's huge.
They're out of room.
I would suspect so. Okay, so then, if we take this lot, if it becomes rezoned to central business district, the town of, within the boundaries of the Diamond Valley, of Black Diamond, we will not have an industrial lot. So any future, applications for industrial uses would be fit into the service commercial districting. There are two uses in our existing land use bylaw, which are specific to industrial lots. And let's see, did I put it in here? One is a bowling alley. It must be on another slide, I'm sorry. But regardless, we can amend that if we were to get an application for one of those two uses, we could manipulate the application to go into a service commercial district. We just find another definition that would more appropriately fit those two uses that would be removed. The next slide is an ortho photo. So this gives a overview of the existing development. There had been residents on that lot and it's been subsequently removed, but the Quonset is in the northeast corner of that parcel and it would need to be demolished to accommodate the proposed development on the site. Oh, yes. So administration had Urban Systems conduct a lane grading review and provided two options for consideration. This Craig will be doing, our public services manager, our public works manager. And so depending upon the timing of the development, there might be some opportunity for some grades to be amended back there. That's really between the property owners, adjacent property owners to facilitate. The town, speaking with Craig, we would have the lot graded towards the lane that's on the east side, so that it would enter the stormwater surface system onto First Avenue. The next slide shows the footprint of the initial proposed development. Now, of course, we're only rezoning this, and so we might, the applicant might come in with something different, but at first blush, this is a 2-story medical services building. Commercial residential uses would also be appropriate in there. But if the application of the future application of this lot was for a service commercial area, they are showing adequate parking that would meet the needs under the land use bylaw. So they're showing 26 and 26 lots would be what would be required under the land use bylaw. Subject to our land use bylaw lets you remove the hallways and the closets and other personal item spaces. So it might be, you might need fewer and allow for a little bit larger building perhaps. But I like it. I like the parking plan on that because it backs into the wider lane. So that it's really good use of space on that. There is also angle parking, as you can see in the photo, on First Avenue, as well as on First Street in front of the Medical Arts Building. And then the town has a lot, a public parking lot directly west of the Medical Arts Facility. The next slide. This one shows the tentative footprint of the medical or health services building, showing physio, dental, pharmacy. Again, these uses are not written in stone. There has been considerable interest that the applicant has expressed for health services. So whether he uses it both floors depends on his tenant needs. The next slide, please, Erna. This one's about infrastructure. So we've got a sidewalk on the south side, and the building facing would be the south facing side. Or that would be the front yard. There's also sidewalk on the west side of that parcel. There is water and sanitary underneath First Avenue, and there is an existing service to the site. Depending upon the age, the developer will have to determine whether or not they're going to use those existing lines, or if they're going to be installing new lines, you know, based on their capacity requirements for their final use. In circulation, we did receive one response from an adjacent property owner. And his statement was they don't have concerns with the rezoning of the central business district, but they do have extreme concerns about having a two-story building right on up to the east side of their property. And as I am the only neighbor, he states, of this planned building, of which he's not seen a plan or a blueprint. And of course, we don't expect to see a plan or blueprint at this redesignation stage. We don't ask that the applicant make that investment unless that they are certain that the zoning can be made appropriate for before we make that investment. So that concludes my presentation for the public hearing portion.
Excellent, thank you. All right, Councillor Gordon.
So picking up on your last comment with the owner here, Mr. Doppler, can you tell me what those side setbacks would be? Because the proposed building would be pretty close to that property line, which would be this owner's backyard, but the new property side setback. So what kind of setback are we? Because I appreciate his concerns about a two-story building coming right up. The way the proposal looks in your slides, 2 slides before that, I can't read. Once I zoom in,
It's pretty small.
yeah, it pixelates too much. That slide there actually, Verna. What would be that, because if you look, the proposed building is in the southeast corner,
Yes.
and it would be, the side would be on the backyard of the current owners there on those 2 residential properties.
Yeah.
So within our central business, what is the required setback?
Zero lot line.
It is a 0 lot line.
Zero lot line, provided that they have a non-combustible building material.
Okay.
They can go up to property line. This application is showing on this site plan 1.2 meter setback.
Okay,
It's
So-
the subject.
so if we're staying at industrial, which I'm sure that owner would have been aware of was zoned industrial, what is the same setback, that the 0 property setback for industrial? Because what I'm thinking, if that doesn't really change the parameter of his concern. If industrial was 0, commercial central business is 0, what, do you know what our industrial setback was
I
there?
can't tell you offhand. It
Okay.
is likely 0 as well. If
Yeah.
it's non-combustible.
And that,
I can find that out between now and the RFD time though. I can just look it up.
I'm just interested because my opinion on that would be that landowner would have been aware it was industrial, potentially could have had that same kind of a development, which, yeah, I don't want to sound crass, but buyer beware whenever you're in that situation, right?
Yes, yeah, certainly. And I mean, building height, I think that they could be up to 30 feet in the central business district as
Which
well.
is your average 2-story.
3.
Is that a 3?
Mhm.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
I will find that information out though, between now and the next.
Heather,
Actually, I'm okay.
Brendan,
No, sir.
Cindy,
Questions?
Hazel.
Just like you're showing the site plan, it's just one level. What is going to go on the second level? Is that also going to be medical services, or do you happen to see maybe potentially apartments?
So right now, the investor or the applicant is looking at the feasibility of whether or not that should be a mixed use, or if he has the ability and to create, if there's enough demand to create medical services on both levels.
Okay, so if you were to say in time, say maybe go to apartments, would that change from central business to be another designation?
No, mixed use, which is commercial residential component rather, is also a listed discretionary use in the central business district.
Okay,
So he would, if you rezoned it, the landowner could come back with any application that is one of those listed uses in the central business district. So we know what it's.
it'd be a whole new process, right?
It won't be a new land use redesignation process. He would just be going into a land use bylaw development permit.
Okay, that's gonna develop.
Okay.
And thank you.
And it's a use that the development officer has the authority to issue a decision on.
Oh, okay, okay,
And I have the ability to transfer it to an NPC as well.
okay, thank you very much.
Flavor. Comment? I'll take a motion.
It has to go to an LCL team.
We already did staff, right? We can give a second reading now. Oh, where's my script here?
Second.
This guy?
I didn't see the motions, very.
I was trying to get ahead of the game here.
So this comes back up again.
We did the whole public hearing.
Yeah, but it's under the bylaw policies that we actually discuss it, make a motion on it. This is.
So am I gonna do this whole thing again?
So you just had the administrative report. So you're about a quarter of the way down the first page.
On your agenda. Oh, I see.
That's
Okay.
Oh, on the script.
I'm gonna start reading. You think I'm right there?
Love it.
Written submission, you know, it's right there. This is very convoluted and not normally how it goes, but. Yes, Middleton. Written submissions not included. See, I'm starting halfway through something that I never even opened because we opened it weeks ago and closed it and then we came back.
It's better.
Anyway,
Gonna wait for a month.
right?
Take a breath.
Ms. Middleton, has the town received any written submissions not included in your staff report? If so, I would ask that they be read aloud and entered into the record.
No, there have been no other submissions.
At this time of the hearing, I will call upon anyone wishing to speak on the proposed bylaw. Please note that each party wishing to speak will have only one opportunity to do so. If you are speaking and have already provided a written submission, please summarize your concern. Council members may ask questions of presenters for the purpose of clarifying the speaker's comments. Council will not debate this matter during the hearing. The decision regarding whether the grant of the bylaw for the readings will be dealt with later on the agenda, which is now, or at a subsequent meeting if deemed necessary. At this time, I would ask administration if anyone has registered to sign in to speak to the bylaw.
No, I don't believe so.
At this time, I would ask if anyone present in the audience who has not yet spoken would like to speak to the bylaw. Please come forward to the middle table here, state your name for the record, and you may speak your mind. Is there anyone wishing to speak from the audience present? Going once? Going twice? Last chance. Lots of entertainment up here if you want to come. No? Okay. I will close that section. I'll ask administration to verify that no further written submissions have been received.
There have been no further submissions received.
And have all speakers been heard? To your knowledge.
Apparently.
Yes.
Yes. Final remarks. Does any person who has previously spoken wish to address any new information provided at this hearing? Council may ask questions following any speaker. Does the applicant have any closing remarks?
He's not here.
Not here. Does administration have any closing remarks or responses to questions or concerns brought forward during the hearing?
No, I don't believe so.
There's not.
Me? Good. Council. Is council satisfied that they have obtained sufficient information from this public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
I love Halloween candy. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I would like to thank all those who spoke or provided submissions for their comments. Council will take your comments into consideration when deciding on this matter. With that said, I declare the public hearing for bylaw 2023-22 closed at 7:07, August 16th, 2023. It is Wednesday. All right, well, that was exciting. Can I get the motions now?
No.
Of course not.
We have to go through the RFP.
Far too simple. Yeah, okay, here we go. One second. Fire. We do have a delegation. All right. We will come back to that later in the agenda. Delegations, 8.1. Diamond Valley Chamber of Commerce for the first annual Ian Tyson Memorial Music Festival. Samantha Instance and is Murray here. I haven't seen the
Yes.
There you are.
It is.
Chelsea coming up as well. Sure. Come on.
You get the great chair. You get the great chair.
Right there.
Great table.
Oh, okay, but there are five of us, so they can sit here, can they not?
Sure.
However you want.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
See you all.
Frame, counselors, and CAO Middleton. I'm gonna just hand out some pieces of paper here for you guys to.
Before you get rolling, I would just ask that you try not to drabble on about things that don't matter and be concise. Wrap it up in 5-10 minutes. That'd be deadly.
You don't want to hear about my life at all?
I want to hear all about that.
Very.
Scores are interesting.
All right. No, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate the festival. Great, but I'll turn it over to you guys. Samantha, you can lead off.
Cool, so I'd just like to introduce our team. We had a core team of members that helped us put together this festival, which for all intents and purposes was quite successful. Of course, you know, our stage manager, Murray, our chamber president, Lori Rowe was our marketing, was our festival food manager. Chelsea Vogel was our festival marketing manager, and Kyle Warman was our festival site manager. Just brought them up here to get props, and also if you guys had any specific questions.
Yeah, we'll just get on and give you the snapshot summary, bottom line summary. So our festival operating budget was 90,168.6. Revenue was 83,257.87. A shortfall of $6,910.19, which is an outstanding result, frankly, for a beginning festival. Festival attendance in total was 702, not including children 6 and under. Sponsorship contribution total cash was 40,000, which included 18,000 from the town. We raised another 22,000, plus we had another 4,500 in kind. So our contribution was worth 26,500 versus the town's 18. So I think as a team, as a collaboration, we did very well working together. We sold $26,740 worth of tickets. That's 585 adult tickets, 49 youth, and the comps and guests 68. Liquor sales revenue 6,817.5, 909 tickets sold in the beer garden. T-shirt sales revenue was 5,000, 127 T-shirts sold, which is really a great result. And we just put in the festival advertising spend there. We had questions on that. It's just under $8,000 distributed between print, social media, and radio. So the shortfall of essentially $7,000 represents our request to the town to help finish with our payables, which is the remaining payable for the sound stage. And so that is our request for this meeting. And we think that all things considered, it went extremely well. And we appreciate very much all the support we've received from the town and all the people that work for the administration as well as the council. And we would like to continue another year with this. We'd like to do a second annual. We think we want changing the date to Canada Day weekend would be advisable for many reasons. We don't want to get into all those details here, but we've had a lot of thought, feedback, and analysis over what went right, what could have been done better, what we can improve on going forward. June 29th, which is a Saturday, 2024, seems to be an optimal date. We do have a nameplate artist in the wings that's available that date that would substantially upgrade the profile of the festival.
Attendance,
What date was that?
June 29,
June 29.
2024, which is a Saturday. So the Saturday of the long weekend.
So long story short, we feel that it was a very successful event. Had we had a little bit more sponsorship support, perhaps from some or one of the service groups in town, we actually would have made some money for the chamber. We did not make any money for the chamber. We're essentially neutral.
We are truly a nonprofit organization.
That's right.
This one.
Demonstrating we can run a nonprofit. And, but I think that all things considered, well, great start. So respectfully, our request is for $7,000 of support so we can finish paying off our sound guys, and then we're even. Thank you.
Next
Questions?
Perfect, concise, love it. Question.
I do have questions. Just in regards to what was proposed initially when you guys first sat down.
Yeah,
I just have two questions, just the site expenses, the proposal, the estimate was 8,500 and it came in at 19,000. And the marketing expenses was estimated at 6,000 and it came in at 16.
so when we first came up with a budget proposal, I was coming from a standing start, never having produced a music festival before. We quickly, and also not having any detailed reference on what that site was going to require, what AGLC and AHS regulations were. So we upped the budget on everything. So we basically doubled our initial budget, which was lessons learned. And in fact, I think our site expenses will probably go up next year, so we can provide, our beer gardens will be bigger, and if not, the whole entire site made into a festival area. And we provide more weather cover, and we provide better tents. We had relied on thinking we could possibly get more in-kind donations, but as we kept going up and actually starting to deal with all the attendees, the suppliers, et cetera, we realized that in order to make this good or safe, we needed to up those expenses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, that answers it for me.
Okay, yeah,
Overall, super great. I went, it was fantastic. Looking forward to next year and I'm in support of the recommendation.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lots of
Yeah.
lessons learned, and we'll be able to give you guys like a forensic report of what went well, what, et cetera. And we'd like to start working on next year's immediately, with specifically, we need to nail down the headline act, which we feel will be kind of a big deal. And also we plan on having more music next year. So it'll be music from the beginning to the end. And I think possibly in future years, we'd like to look at doing the multi-day festival. We already know that the accommodation is an issue but it's only marginally more expensive to do a 2-day festival.
That actually was going to be a question I was going to ask, because Longview just completed their Round Stock Music Festival. They run 2.5 days, I think, something like that, basically. And so, and I'm glad you had that conversation with Reed now, isn't she? Delilah Miller,
Yeah.
who has that experience, right? So
Yeah, no, absolutely.
getting and using her as a resource is awesome. And I agree with Brendan. I think this is a decent request. It, I spent 8 hours there at one of the tents that I tried to hold down with my lightweight. It didn't work so well. Well, I was hoping so. That was going to be my recommendation. If I'm going to volunteer for taking one, please can I have a proper tent? I just about lost a finger when they came.
Moves that gate halfway down the field, so it's on the south side of that underground high pressure pipeline, and then we'll have 2 of the proper special event rentals with the 36-inch tent bags.
But seriously, I say that in jest. It was really well done.
Mhm.
The comments I heard were phenomenal. People as far as Texas were here, people from Medicine Hat, from Vermilion, my aunt and uncle from Cochrane thoroughly enjoyed it. They stayed the entire time, and I'm pleased to hear that you're planning on music throughout, because that was the regular feedback for the.
Yeah.
So,
We initially had this idea of doing kind of a family day and kind of cross-pollination.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go with that.
Yeah.
The music.
that's very wise, and I think that will really take off. So
Yeah,
I love the idea, and I'm in support.
That's all. Cindy.
Hate to be the negative person here, but I had thought that the 18,000 that we had initially requested or given, that was a big, like, we've been used to heading up $500 here, $500 there. To go the 18,000, that was a big stretch. So to then say now we're getting more, and then next year, I'm sure there's gonna be another, but we had initially just been told that this was just like a one time, let's get started, this is it. So I am a little concerned about that, just since we are.
Yeah, a fair tax question, but you know, at the end of the day, we made a decision to do an excellent festival once we got into it, and all the cross-threading between permits, you know, Alberta Liquor Control, Alberta Health Services, security and all of that. We made the decision that if we're gonna stand up, we wanted to have a professional patina to the whole thing. And so, yeah, we decided to go big or go home.
One of our bigger expenses that actually didn't even exist in our initial budget was for the stage and sound. We were thinking that we'd maybe get a free stage from Stampede. But not only were they having issues with volunteers, they didn't get back to us until like the beginning of June. The thing about it is in order to stage a festival that increases the visitor economy here and brings people from out of town and makes us a destination, we have to have good quality sound. So we chose to go with a professional stage and sound company. We realize now we need bigger speaker stacks next year to fill that space and a whole bunch of other details. But one of our largest costs that increased the budget was the fact that we went with a professional stage, professional sound techs, and professional sound equipment.
Yeah, they weren't cheap. They're about 14,000.
Yeah.
And we hope to get it for free. And so your point is very valid. And I think that now we have a handle on what our cost structure really looks like. It was first time in. And so going forward, I think we're going to have much smaller delta in terms of what we're predicting and what the actual will be. Okay, standing start. So that's our answer.
So is this considered seed money? Because that's what, but here it's just breaking even. So is this another request next year for 25,000?
Well, possibly, yes. So we are looking at, because we have a successful festival under our belt, it qualifies us to and opens up a whole bunch more federal and provincial grants for us. So we're hoping to underwrite the entire festival with grant and sponsorship money next year so that there's actually money being made. Whether we may come back to you and ask for $25,000 next year, but because of the headliner that we're hoping to bring in, and we already have a soft hold on him, we believe that we will become a destination. We also won't be sandwiched between the Calgary Folk Festival and the Edmonton Blues Festival, which this year was the demographic. We've established the brand, and the idea is to make this a destination festival. Longstock, great, and it's lovely. They showcase lots of local musicians, and there's a huge music culture around here. But what we need to do is we need to make this a destination festival. We're trying to work in lockstep with Travel Alberta, especially with Foothills Tourism, and with what the town is trying to do to let everybody know that Blackland is open for business. So this festival will get bigger, and hopefully we'll move to multi-days and will get more expensive. But if now that we've established the brand, and then we can go after federal and provincial grant money, and we can also go after different sponsors who are willing to give us more money. We could only get so much sponsorship money because we could only sort of generally estimate how many people we're going to
A
be
lot
there.
of people would show up to support us for the first year of the festival. So there's an awful lot of risk associated with doing a festival, you know, year one, right? So food providers are like, well, how many people do you think you're going to get? You don't think that's enough. There's a ton of moving parts in this. So to answer your question, we don't know yet if we will come back to the town or not. We may. We're really optimistic that now that we've got a track record, we can access government funding, because that was a bit of a catch-22. We haven't done it before. So, you know, it goes like that. So, you know, that our answer is we're not sure yet. We really hope to underwrite it all ourselves, but we're not there yet.
And we would really like to move it to my Diamond Valleys.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cindy?
Just to follow up, I really like the idea of moving it to the Canada Day weekend, and I wanted to know what, if you knew offhand, the previous music festival of Black Diamond had Canada Day. What was the approximate expense on that?
Thank you, Councillor Holiday through the chair. My initial numbers are around 15,000 that have been allocated in expenses, but I don't have accurate numbers at the moment in terms of the full sponsorship or anything else that might have offset that. So that may have been just specific to the entertainment. I'm not sure about the additional costs, so I'd have to look into that.
Can I just point out that that last Canada Day Festival was a community event? What we are looking here is to make a destination event. So naturally, and also, you know, sort of the providing, you know, a beer gardens, etc., providing the food. So yes, it's going to be a more expensive festival because we're hoping to come up with a more professional.
Just one question. Did you find that the car show helped or hindered? Or did it have any influence at all?
I can't say it helped.
We had no cross promotion. Chelsea is also the marketing person for the Lions, and there was just no cross promotion. Also, the Lions chose to decline to help us with any sponsorship money, stating that it was not in their purview. Well, Elvis Presley was discovered at a Lions Talent Show and Music Festival. They have a history of, so I'm not quite sure what happened there, but we would like to see some, and they're also, so we would like to see a little bit more support from one of the community service towns that makes quite a bit of money off this town through their campground. Great to see them put some more money back into this, because obviously we would like to, you know, we recommended them as a camping spot. I know that there's a lot of people that are already like, that reserve their camping spots there, but there are some spots. So if we, and I had hoped, I had put some festival signage down on that street, because but I had put it too far up the street. And we weren't getting any cross promotion from people sending them up there. There was a lot going on in downtown. It was
All first out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, great.
But it would have been great if some of that had been driven up. And maybe if we hadn't had a couple of technical issues with our stage and the speaker stacks had been louder and we started the music earlier, they would have naturally gravitated.
Last question, location, good or no?
Yeah,
Right.
good,
We'll do it again. Yeah, love it.
very good.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we have intimate knowledge of that.
And the fact is that all the streets are available for parking. That eliminates, you know, shuttle service idea and all that. We have to have additional costs for shuttles and all of that because we have access to all the parking because of the car show.
I feel that we will need those additional, we've got that shuttle service, and I feel as this festival gets bigger, we will need to utilize it, especially with who we have in mind for headlining next year. And assuming that they haven't broken ground on the Diamond View Market, I know that the Mountain West Development guys will be more than happy to get in there, and it was really well organized, but there was only 2 cars that used that overflow lot, but it made the emergency services team extraordinarily happy, and we felt that we didn't necessarily contribute to the congestion that was existing.
Excellent. All right, any further questions? Well, I know that the community thought it was a success. Sounds like you guys had a great time too. Thank you for your volunteer time.
Much for,
Thank you.
thanks so much for your support.
You bet. You bet.
And
Thank
to
you.
clarify, you have this as an ask, but have you put into a written ask?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
But I only just finished doing this.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
No, exactly, but I'm not building on it. I hate them, but I think not, it's for. Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay. Ken, there we go.
That's the RFP.
Moving on. 9.1, bylaw 2023-22. I feel like we just talked about this. Yeah, true. Application to amend the land use bylaw 2021-06. Veronica, what was that?
Becky, the first reading, so I might as well give the second.
There you go. Excellent. Second reading by Veronica Foiber, Councillor, Diamond Valley, for bylaw 2023-22. Any comments? Sure.
I'll say I'm fully in support. If you look at the, like your land use map, we can't look at what's going on and how many stories it is, that kind of thing. Just, you look at our land use, it makes 0 sense to have industrial land completely surrounded with central business district, so. I don't know why we agree that way, so just a no brainer. Oh, it never came up.
Perfect.
Yep.
Any comments?
I think it's a big.
All in favor?
Building.
Perfect, thank you. I'll give you third reading. Bylaw 2023-22. Any further comments?
Just-
Yep.
Just the question that I had asked earlier, did you find that detail about what the setback would be? Is it the same between an industrial zone and the central business?
Thank you. I did look it up. And the land use bylaw is silent on the side yard setbacks on an industrial lot. There's front yard, there's rear yard, but there's not a side yard setback.
Okay.
So it's up at the discretion of the approving authority.
Great, so MTC can handle that.
Yeah, I'm good.
There you go. Okay, I fully support this as well. I think it's fantastic and I really look forward to the application to see something built on this fabulous little piece of property that will look good.
And even as a follow-up, and Ms. LeBlanc can probably attest to this, one of the missing pieces that goes back to our economic development was professional services such as this. That has been identified as a missing piece in both of our communities. So I'm excited about the potential that this will realize.
There you go. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving on. 9.2, request for proposal for approval, responsible pet ownership bylaw 2023-22. I'm assuming that for Matt, you're gonna take the hot seat. Ms. LeBlanc, you will intro. Right here. The floor is yours.
Good evening, council. So in front of you have the responsible pet ownership bylaw. So this bylaw is combining the existing Turner Valley and Black Diamond bylaws into one with just some updates. Some small changes. We looked at our definitions, we cleaned them up. We added dogs chasing wildlife, the feeding of wildlife within our community, transporting dogs outside of the cab of a vehicle. So that's a dog in the back of a pickup truck going down the highway. That does tie into the Alberta Animal Protection Act as well. We cleaned up the backyard hen section, just our organizational processes as such. Vicious dog section of the bylaw, we expanded it. So we put some parameters in there about selling or giving away a vicious animal. So the person is aware that it is a vicious animal. And disclosing the status. We also added in there our ability to seek a destruction order under the Dangerous Dog Act. So in the event there is a dog attack in the community, we have the bylaw and the Dangerous Dog Act as a tool to go ahead and deal with that. We also combed through our fines just to make sure everything was in line. That is pretty much, we did not go for public consultation. It is Turner Valley and Black Diamond's existing bylaws with just some minimal changes to it. So I'm open to any questions council has.
Excellent, thank you. I'm gonna go Clover, then Martin, then me.
Yeah. Okay. So everything's going along fine until 5.2. The owner shall pay the license fee by January 31st of each year. Makes sense. If a person is the owner of a dog that reaches the age of 6 months on a date after January 31st. Having trouble with this. I'm not a super stupid person, but it doesn't, like, you just want people who have a dog older than 6 months to pay the fee. Right?
That is correct.
Can we just break that?
We could, yes.
Okay, so take out 5.2, just simplify. It's not.
Very technical, I like it.
Yeah, a person becomes an owner, it just,
If you own a dog, pay your.
if you own a dog and it's 6 months of age before January 31st, you have to
do
pay
all
the
the fees.
Yeah. Right?
We can definitely look at changing that. The bylaw was vetted through legal and stuff like that. So when it passed through, so it's, some of this is a legal terminology.
I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not gonna pay this fee.
I only have a puppy.
All right, so then 5.13. The licensing provisions of this bylaw must apply to dogs accompanying a person temporarily in the town. Unless the animal control officer is satisfied that the dog is trained and used to assist a person with a disability. Why is this in here?
What section?
5.13. You don't have to pay a fee if the bylaw or average animal. Then there's 5.13.
All 513.
The licensing provisions of this bylaw shall not apply to dogs accompanying a person temporarily in the town for a period not exceeding 3 weeks, or when the animal control by officer is satisfied that the dog is trained and used to assist a person with a disability.
So yeah,
That's your support animals, right?
they don't. One's a temporary bylaw for visiting dogs and the other one is an assistant dog. They don't really go together, but that's fine. I made these notes, but. There's a formatting issue, an owner of a dog. D. 6.1D, you have to provide shelter, ventilation space. The dog has to have the opportunity for periodic exercise to maintain good health, including the opportunity to be unfettered from, anyway. I don't even remember what format I wanted here.
Yeah, that's that dogs.
Yeah, have that dog.
I guess I'm wrong.
So 6.3 is now in hens. So can we move hens out of dog ownership?
We could, it is in there because it is part of an ownership requirement.
Okay. So we can't have a hens section. It just says 6.1 an owner of a dog and then dog again, and then 6.3 is hens. I just thought it should go somewhere else.
Under the hen section. what we're asking for.
We could get a hen section. So then people don't have to go through the entire bylaw if you don't care about dogs.
Right.
So I moved that one to 7.0 somehow.
Yeah.
Because that's an ownership requirement 7.0, right, Heather? So, yeah, I would agree.
So move it all under the hen section.
Okay, so we're asking for amendment 6.3 be moved to
Back here.
7.
Requirements. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that said, the heading for section 7 is hen backyard and ownership. Why don't we just make 6 as dog ownership instead of ownership of pets? Because we're only dealing with dogs, correct?
Like you kind of separate yourself.
Yes, hens should be under hens.
Dogs should be under dogs.
Correct.
Easy to read.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, 6.15. I think what we should say instead of an owner must not allow a dog to be outside of the passenger cab of a motor vehicle on a roadway coming across the street.
Sorry, not following.
6.15. I think you mean an owner must not transport a dog outside of the passenger.
Okay.
What else did I just like? 7.3, so this 6.16 has a typo. It may allow a dog, not an dog. Yes, you're
Sorry,
correct.
can you repeat the section?
6.16, first sentence, an owner may allow an dog. All right, now I'm going to,
Read it in the brass tacks.
yeah. 7.3, you have fixed backyard hen ownership requirements because it used to be the sheet that you filled out was unclear. And it read like you could build your coop, get your hens, and then it would come be inspected. So a couple people, yes, it was, a couple people got their hens and they had to remove them. This was Black Diamond said. So under 7.3, an application including the first annual license fee must be submitted and approved by the town. This is under backyard hens. Could we say must first be submitted, just to be extra super clear that you get your coop inspected first before you install your hens.
That,
It is later on too. I just wanted it doubled up because it's later on in backyard hens. 7.6.
Hold on, let's make sure you got that. We all following? Okay, good. 7.6. yeah.
All right, this is just a capitalization issue. 7.7, a person must not keep a rooster. Rooster is defined. We can capitalize rooster just because that's the format. I have a question. How many people purchase temporary dog licenses?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information at this time.
It's probably about maybe a half a dozen at the very most in a year.
So it's for 2, 3 years.
Yeah,
Enough.
and it's just like somebody's coming to visit or yeah, you know, somebody's gone on holiday, so they are asking grandma and grandpa to come back to us.
Yeah. Really? That's very good. I'm just, I shouldn't bring a dog over. All right, that was actually it.
Okay. Hazel.
Remember when we had a full discussion on the livestock emotional support animals?
Yes,
I see that has been totally removed.
that is correct. So it has been removed from the bylaw at this time. Administration has not seen a need for that section in our legislation at this point in time. Our goal for municipal enforcement right now is we have a lot of pieces of legislation that we need to get in place quickly. So our goal is to get everything in place, get it working, and then we can come back if there is a need and add that in to our bylaw. But at this time, there is not a need for it.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thank you.
that. Can we move down to Schedule B?
Wherever you want.
Okay, so item 3.1D.
Under the offense, it says allow a dog to bite, bark, or chase livestock, wildlife, bicycles, or vehicles. Now, under section, the vicious dog section, could we possibly add on item number 11.1D? It says permit a vicious dog to chase a domestic animal or wildlife. You know, if ever they do get out of their yard.
Yeah, 3
It says allow a dog to or 3.1F is supposed to allow a dog to cause damage.
Sorry, for greater clarity, you're looking on having the section updated to reflect what, sorry? Chasing wildlife?
Yes, like we have like domestic animal, can we also include their wildlife?
It does cover,
The federal act.
Or it's provincial act, right, Barry?
So do you don't need to state that in?
so we have multiple different tools in our toolbox. That's an animal at large charge. Harassing wildlife and stuff as well could be covered under provincial legislation.
Like, it doesn't matter if it's a vicious dog or not.
A vicious dog at large is its own can of worms. It's
Okay.
totally separate than a non-vicious animal. On the requirements, when we define a dog to be a vicious dog, we set up so many rules and regulations around being an owner of that dog. That's just a simple violation. Regardless if it's chasing wildlife or not, they're in a lot of trouble and the dog more than likely would be departing our community.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Barry?
I got Gordon, then Holiday.
So the one question I have, within section 6, we have the ownership requirements of a dog. And I'm very cautious bringing this forward, but there are instances where the dog's noise through barking becomes an issue at different times. Do we cover that under our nuisance bylaw? And would it not be better to have it really referred to within the ownership requirements here? The proper maintenance of a dog to ensure the neighbors are living in peace.
Thank you for your question. So I would prefer, in comparison to most other municipalities as well, to keep that in a community standards or a property responsibility bylaw that covers noise. It really doesn't matter what type of noise is being created from the property. It does create a nuisance, which would be a contravention to a bylaw. So you don't really see it in a lot of places where they define the barking of a dog creates the offense. It's any noise on the property that disturbs somebody else.
The only reason I ask that is I'm just thinking from a resident's perspective, what bylaw would they look into to see if there's a regulation on that?
So
And every person I've talked to as a resident said, well, I've looked in the animal responsibility bylaw and it's not there. So that's why I bring it forward, my opinion. And $2 to buy your medium coffee at Tim's. I would love to see that under the requirement here. I mean, an owner of dog must do this, this, and this. So why don't we put in an owner must ensure their dog, however we word it, maintains a peaceful environment for the surrounding neighbors, something like that.
For sure, I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I'm at council's discretion here on how they want to proceed with this. I personally would prefer to keep it in a community standards or a property responsibility, just all governed in one bylaw where we're talking about the type of noise, the continuation of the noise and stuff like that. So as mentioned earlier, Turner Valley and Black Diamond, this is pretty much their bylaw and it has been working. We have barking dog packages that we provide people and all that stuff, and it is governed under each bylaw in each community to deal with it. That would be my preference, but again, I'm at council's discretion on this.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about even if we could make reference to that bylaw within here. Just something, because I'm pretty confident residents, their initial bylaw they're going to is the ownership responsibility as outlined in an animal pet ownership bylaw. That's my opinion.
So like for those dealing with barking dog, refer to,
Yeah, refer to the nuisance bylaw or whatever we call it, wherever it's found.
Like have that just as an item.
Yeah, it is an item.
Just kind of cross.
just a suggestion.
Yeah, because I mean, I love reference points. Like if you're doing your research and you don't find it in one place, are you gonna think it's in a nuisance bylaw? Probably not.
Well, if your head is barking dog,
You're sticking on the
You're
animal,
going to there.
you're sticking on the animal control bylaw.
Which is usually the only complaint, yeah.
It is. That's why I'm wondering why it's not.
I think reference would be a good solution instead of stating all the nuances that a barking dog may cause.
Exactly.
Yes, Mr.
If I may through the chair, I understand where council's going. I'd have to consult Ms. Staples on that one. The issue of putting in another piece of legislation into a bylaw, if that bylaw is repealed or amended. And the bylaw that we're talking about referencing in this bylaw, it doesn't exist at this point in time. That's our property responsibility bylaw, which has to go to council at some point in September or October. So
It falls under property
it
responsibility.
would fall under your, yes.
So we're looking basically, if I'm getting Councillor Gordon correct, just in here, let's call it 11.2A, barking dog, refer to property responsibility bylaw. It's what we're looking for, just a simple add-in sentence that says, here's where you're going, you want to find out about this.
But he's saying it's not finished though, right?
Yeah.
So we can't reference
There
it
is a
until
line.
it's created. So we're putting the cart in front of the horse. Yeah.
Well, we can, yeah, if it's gonna continue in the name of property responsibility bylaw, we can reference it. We're just not putting the date in it or the bylaw number.
That part is correct. However, to answer Councillor Holliday's question, it doesn't exist in both councils.
It exists in
And right now, they're geographic until we pass a Diamond Valley bylaw.
We're doing it.
Not the property
No, the
responsibility,
property,
that doesn't exist in either town yet.
Correct.
So we just do an amendment, like Matt said, we're gonna get the 95% are here, it's operational, and we start doing the nuances as we move
And
on.
we can come back and make that simple amendment.
Okay, so put it
Please
in your
make it
notes, let's not forget.
Sorry, I'm hearing.
As it, we're reading you loud and clear.
Okay.
Put it in your notes to add one back when the time comes.
Perfect.
That's good. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Cindy, you did have questions. I'm sure you've forgotten by now through old age. But, well, I mean,
Yes. Late meetings, been my day. Wildlife, chasing wildlife. I have a problem with it when it's irked me ever since we've talked about it. You let your dog out in your backyard, you have a large backyard, there's a deer there, it's gonna get chased. Like, and I know that you guys aren't gonna enforce generally in it, but I just hate having. I just wanted to air my, yeah. There are large pieces, and I get it if they're out in a park that's. And but generally they're not gonna be chasing it if they're on leash how they're supposed to be. So is it kind of redundant? Because the only way to chase wildlife is to be off leash, and that's wrong in and of itself. So the only situation where it's not an off leash problem and they're chasing wildlife would be an off leash dog park or somebody's private yard. So
Dogs get out,
but then isn't that a separate penalty? I don't know.
double line.
Yeah, all right.
let's get an answer from there.
Thank you. So when I look at this, we have a lot of issues coming from the Black Diamond side of people's dogs coming out the front door, chasing deer, chase the deer into the road of traffic. We have an accident. So we need to look at that aspect to it. And we also have to look at some pet owners that are not responsible pet owners that allow their dogs to roam their property. And the dog sees a deer and starts chasing it. So that's where the issue, or coyotes or anything like that. So that's why we're trying to blanket it and control it that way. Will we be laying a lot of charges? More than likely not, but it is a tool in the toolbox that we have if we ever do need it.
So I'm one of a few acreage owners.
Will never be seen.
They tell me, my dogs chase. Yeah, it's okay to say, yeah, okay. I do also, we talked about referencing other bylaws, and we do in here talk about breeding only be allowed based on the land use bylaw. Turner Valley bylaw is silent on breeding operations. I'm just trying to find out where they're even allowed in Black Diamond. So if we're going to be saying refer to the land use bylaw on breeding on dog breeders and then they're silent, that's an issue. So if you can double check that one. Those are my 2 things. And I didn't forget.
Where we're at right now, if I may through the chair, is we're looking at Getting that land use bylaw done once we have our new planning manager, and that's gonna cover a lot of stuff moving forward. Under the LUB in Black Diamond, currently it is silent as well. When it does come to breeding, it creates an issue there. But it's looking at being changed, our recommendation when the new LUB is created.
Isn't that the same issue that you have with why I want to have the noise involved here when our property responsibility bylaws aren't in place? We don't have the new land use bylaw in place, so why would we refer to a breeding program when both land use bylaws are silent?
You hit the nail on the
And yet,
head there.
no.
It carried through from the existing other bylaws. So
Gotcha.
Again, put that in your notes. So we don't miss it.
Exactly.
Brendan, I know you're enthralled with this topic and you've made detailed notes. Please, by all means, take the floor.
I've got a chicken coop. I love my chickens. This is great. No, it's all good. I mean, this isn't, none of this stuff is gonna be easy. We've just talked about the campers and the RV survey. We're gonna be dealing with kind of this headbutting for the coming months. And I think this is a great first look at it. And other than Veronica's comments, I think everything was good.
I do, that,
That's good.
I didn't hear that.
Okay.
No, everything's really good. Appreciate it.
Okay, so
I'll say it again.
we got some amendments in there that they wrote notes. Do we want to give first reading, Heather, as amended, which is what Veronica had written down, and then we can have it come back cleaned up a bit? You got some more comments? Oh, absolutely.
As we went through that at the last meeting regarding the dog park, is there anything that we can put in here that strengthens
Yeah.
the regulations down at that dog park?
Hmm.
Just a question, not sure, but like sending them back to the club or the group that's going to ensure it's cleaned up and stuff. I don't know if we have any club down there at all. Can we?
It's very hard to regulate the behavior that's occurring in the dog park. It comes back under the owner responsibilities. You're responsible for the behavior of your animal. If we have a dog bite down there, comes into effect or anything like that. The dog's required to be licensed. Our officers on police patrol down there and see what they can address down there, but it's hard. It's such an open area. It's hard to patrol it. Our officers have a risk wearing uniform to be bit by animals down there, so it is a hard one to regulate in the dog park for sure.
Yeah, like most dog parks are fenced. And this one isn't. It's a natural dog park, or dog walkway is more the term that it should be. So I get it. But thank you. I just wanted to bring that up just in case.
Okay, now I've got my question. Only two, actually. One, follow up on Heather's. My dog bites his dog. And he says, his dog, $1,000 of damage on my dog. What are you gonna do about that?
So we're gonna conduct an investigation, we're determined fault. So his dog was at large, came and bit your dog or bit
That's
you,
right.
sorry?
My dog, his dog,
Okay,
and he came across it.
so under our legislation, it's a dog at large issue, or even if the dog was on leash, you're responsible for that. So when it comes to restitution for the injuries in the veterinarian, we don't cover that under legislation. That's a civil matter between two parties.
Okay. So
So you would have to seek legal counsel and deal with it that way. However, on my end, if I deem the dog to be vicious, or I could put other orders on that dog, to wear a muzzle when he's leaving the house or anything like that. So I have tools for that
Okay.
in this legislation, and in the legislation we currently have in place in both communities.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay, the other one is, people moving to town, buy a house, and they're unaware that next door lives 8 chickens, all very happily clucking away.
Six.
Oh,
Six.
Is there, there's buyer beware. And then there's, kind of good order of operations by declaring what you're buying and who's next to it. So I've got a few phone calls from people in such a state that can't sleep because chickens next door are always picking at the fence. So is there anything that addresses something of that nature?
Same situation for a barking dog, it would be. You can't really know that your neighbor's gonna have a dog that's gonna bark and you're moving in. Under legislation, if we receive complaints that your chickens are creating issues, we would investigate it, and there are tools there that allow us to address it. Continuous complaints from neighbors, we can probably go ahead at that point and revoke your license to possess chickens.
Thank you.
I give them a half a dozen every other week. They're good, man.
Right?
I got my whole cul-de-sac. It's gonna go. No, they're not really that loud, truthfully. They're not.
No.
They're not that loud.
And I'll take.
That's when they're checking your food.
That's
I guess.
I'll give you first reading.
Thank you. Please give me first reading
At
as,
town, are we doing the amendments right now or bringing that back?
we could bring it back.
You could read it first.
Yeah.
If you want to give it second, you can do that with amendments, or you can just ask us to bring it back.
Thanks for that advice. So, number one, the council give bylaw 2023-21, the responsible pet ownership bylaw, its first reading.
All in favor?
Thanks for putting this together.
There you go.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And why don't you just ask them to come back with the amendments next one?
Take them on all three readings tonight.
Yeah, well, we got to see this unless you guys have it all captured.
I'm quite prepared to do second reading it as amended.
Yeah.
and Move into third, yeah.
Okay, good. I was covering up the base because I know some people don't like that. If that's on board, then we're good.
I'll give you third.
Okay, go ahead, Ted.
It was second reading to bylaw 2023-21 as amended.
All in favor? And could we briefly get the amendments read out? Please, Ms. LeBlanc?
Very good shot.
And we'll go with your general notes, just to make sure you captured our thoughts on it. We can do both. You can read yours and you can read yours, and that'll be fine.
Sure. There's one that I didn't capture completely. It was 5.13 around licensing. It was to reword that specific to all animals or all dogs over the age of 6 months shall be licensed, and it was to clean up the wording, but I didn't capture the exact wording.
That's 5.2.
I'm sorry.
5.2.
So 5.2, it was just the 31st, we need to clean that aspect up, correct?
5.2D actually is the specific clause.
There's no.
There's no date.
Oh.
What are you looking at?
See,
5.2.
She just didn't like the 6 month.
Oh,
It was like the 6. Yeah, she didn't like the 6 month thing.
It just needs clarity in this. That's what you're asking.
yeah,
Yeah, it just sounded wordy is what.
if person is the owner of a dog that reaches the age of 6 months on a date after January 31st, you have to pay the fee. Or it's just, it's not clear. I had to read it several times. Just say what you mean.
Person owns a dog. Pay your fee.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
It's just.
It's like if you own it.
And you're not getting it prorated, just pay the fee.
Oh, prorated. Let's bring
Well,
that up.
January 31st.
Let's bring that up. Let's bring that
With the age of your dog,
up.
right? Parable's not that bad as killing off dogs in forests.
I also found an easy one to fix, so 3.5. The second sentence needs to be capitalized.
Okay.
It's a typo.
So all owners of dog that reaches the age of 6 months must be licensed by January 31st.
Yes.
Done. Perfect.
Sounds great.
That's it.
Oh, it's like all the
That's all.
adults. Move it.
Yeah. Nothing else.
6.1D.
Showing up.
6.1D.
And there's an issue that was identified, and I think it's that it's a run-on sentence. And I think it was the last bit of wording, so including the opportunity to be unfettered from a fixed area and to be exercised regularly under appropriate control. You'd like the wording cleaned up, so that he has appropriate exercise. Put it into that. 6.3, where it is regarding or referencing hens, that be moved into the hen portion of the bylaw. 6.0 under dog ownership.
That was 6.D, you already did that.
Yeah. That's 6.15. And we are required to add the word transport. So an owner does not allow a dog to be outside of the passenger cab of a motor vehicle on a roadway when being transported, regardless of whether the motor vehicle is moving or parked.
That should carry to 16 as well, to the transport word, because it's a owner must not transport the dog outside.
So they can.
6.16, there's a typo, it should read a dog, not and dog.
Correct. Bingo.
7.3, must first be inspected, so add the word first.
Yes, yes.
7 point which?
Oh, no, 7.3, my error was.
Three.
Sorry.
Yep, you're good.
7.6, correction of the spelling of rooster should be capitalized as a definition.
7.7, that's what it is actually, 7.7.
The livestock is an emotional comfort animal, was a question, but it's not addressed within the bylaw, and council's accepted that for the time being, but to look at that being a potential amendment down the road. Section 6, with regard to adding barking, or excessive barking, that will be referred to instead as the property responsibility or community standards bylaw once that has been determined. I would add, though, we do have bylaws in place at the moment that should we have to rely on those, I think that they could be applied, but Officer Hogan can correct me on that if that's incorrect.
That's correct.
And then to potentially add or reinforce dog park regulations so that it amplifies the need for pet owner responsibilities around behaviors of the animals. So to look at potentially adding another clause in there just to ensure that that message.
If possible,
Possible
yeah,
consideration.
consideration of it,
Might be able to.
sorry. As explained, it might be impossible to do, and it's kind of covered everywhere else, so I don't have a problem with.
So just take it for consideration, not necessarily as part of the amendment.
Correct.
Okay. And I believe that's all I have.
Excellent. Matt, anything to add?
Nothing to add. Thank you, council, and your worship for your time.
Perfect. We have second reading as amended. You heard that. Heather made it. All in favor? Excellent.
Give you third.
Brendan?
I'll give you third reading for bylaw number 2023-21.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Sorry. Presenting. Presenting.
You're presenting. Sorry, I didn't have it in front of me. Sorry, presenting. Thanks, Brendan.
All in favor? And that's unanimous. We got carried, so now we can have third and final. Yes,
Chair, I'll give you that.
Gordon gives me that.
That we give third and final reading for bylaw 2023-21, our responsive pet ownership bylaw.
Further comments? Those agreements?
With amendments.
Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Bingo. Moving on, 9.3, policy council 015, developing council policies and administrative directives. Miss Verna Staples, this is your lovely handiwork. I'm sure this will be quick and tidy. That's a joke, right? We'll only take a half hour on this one. Okay, go ahead. Stop it. Stop this. Stop it.
We've drafted a policy on developing council policies and administrative directives in an effort to split out the types of policy documents that are created and the types of policy documents that come before council when really they're operational. And so this document will split that out for you and in the way that the policies are defined. Council will always be informed of the policies, should you authorize this policy, that the CAO will then authorize. It will not change in any way how procedures happen. So if it's council policy, the procedure will still come before you for comment, but they're still authorized by the CAO. Council policies are Under these definitions, council policies are mainly affecting the actions of council, but sometimes administration would be included in there. And administrative directions are going to be administrative tasks or duties, so very operational types of things. It doesn't mean we can't still bring it forward to a committee of the whole for conversation. If you think it's going to be budgetary or service levels or those sorts of things, they can still come forward for conversation before they get authorized. And of course, the CAO will report back on changes, amendments, rescinding, all of those good things so that council is aware of how the operations are happening behind the scenes. So it's fairly simple. It'll cut down the number of documents coming before you.
Excellent. Councillor Thompson.
And we talked about this some time ago when we were having some discussions about, well, actually it came about for the purchasing policy and how some of that was straight on the CAO to approve versus a council. So this is wonderful. I think this is a great policy to have in place. Thank you very much, Verna, for your work on this. It's very clear what is a directive and where a directive belongs versus where a policy belongs. Thanks very much.
Perfect. Well said. Councillor Holiday.
My only problem reading the RFD was that you still keep talking about procedures, which are now administrative directives. So, right, because we had procedures before and policy, and now it's administrative directives, or am I mixing up?
Sort of.
It got me confused a little bit.
So a council policy can still have a procedure.
Yeah. Okay.
So your remuneration policy has procedures. I think I kind of embedded them in there, but they could be broken out into separate procedures because they affect staff and doing payroll and posting to websites and those sorts of things. But if that policy did have its own separate procedure, then that would be authorized by the CAO because those procedures are mostly staff, but they do affect council. You have to submit your timesheets, you have to submit your documents, that sort of thing. So that one would definitely be a council policy, but it would also affect staff. So the procedures would be brought before council for review because they would also affect you. And then CAO minutes would sign off on them once everybody's satisfied. The administrative directives this one does not have a procedure because it's very definitive. I'm working on the policies for records management, the records retention and those sorts of things. You need to know that they've been passed. You need to know that we're doing our job. You don't need to know how we're doing it. I don't know how we're doing it yet. But those would be two separate documents. There would be the policy statement and then the actual procedures.
Okay, so you can have procedures under council documents and under administration documents. Okay.
You bet.
Versus I just always had it that we had council policies and then we also had procedures and those are, but there's procedures under both. I've now got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I agree. And when we get RFDs, if we can have it clearly marked, because sometimes I skip titles and just start reading it. And then I'm like, what the heck are we doing? Why are we doing this? And then I realize later, oh, this was just like it had been thing. So clearly marking stuff when they come to us. We're letting us know in the RFDs that this is not really for us to approve, it's for the CAO to approve. Making that very clear, because we got really confused on that last one on the purchasing policy, right? So, I don't know, like triple bold underline, this is an administrative directive.
I've also
Kind of the job and
Yeah.
HSE stuff, same thing. So we
Yeah.
would indicate strongly that this is
Yeah.
really an administrative function, but we're providing you the information so that you can look at it.
We don't need to be in the rules.
No, and I've also rebranded the documents, so the old templates have changed, and so up in the headers, it will either say policy or procedure on every sheet.
Very nice.
Okay, Hazel, any comments?
No,
Lauren?
will give you that.
Yep, it's far away.
That council authorized policy council -015, developing council policies and administrative directives as presented.
Comments? All in favor?
No.
Good work. Boom,
Very
excellent.
well done.
See? It's an easy. Accessory building. Where are we at here? 10.1. Request to approval for development permit for an accessory building, a shed at 205 Hingham Close, southeast. And Miss Mackenzie,
Hello.
you have a little shed you want to present to us?
We do.
Ah, well,
It's just a shed.
it's just a shed. Unless there's, I don't know, already got explosives in the shed,
No.
then I say we don't have much of an issue here, but by all means, tell us about the shed.
First of all, I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Why are we getting a development permit for approval?
Correct.
See?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
rationale you.
Thank you. I didn't see that.
Excellent. Okay, Judy, floor is yours.
Good evening. Through the chair, so this is a direct control district, it's being enclosed. So therefore, anything that, any development on the land has to come forward to yourselves for consideration. So this is a very small shed that is really very easy to work through. It's just in a side yard, it's within all the setbacks for the side and the rear property lines, but it does have to come through you because of the zoning of it, so.
Option one, the council approved the proposed accessory building shed of 39.39 meters squared.
Yeah.
2,232 feet squared. Sorry, okay, I was gonna say cube for a sec. With standard conditions, and thanks for bringing it to us. Although small, it's still in DC, so let's gotta check the boxes. Yeah, appreciate it, too. Thank you very much.
Well, any comments on the shed? To hereforth be known as the shed. No? All in favor? Excellent, thank you. Hey, Judy. We have another one for you, don't go. Quickly off to the next one, 10.2 subdivision extension for 211 Dunham Lane Northwest 01-18 SD. Okay, you might have to give us a little bit more background for the Black Diamond councillors on this one.
Certainly, so I'm going to take a moment to invite Gerard Langate up. He is the engineer for the potential developer.
Okay.
And he came tonight to answer any potential questions that you might have.
Okay, excellent. Amir, is it?
Amar.
Amar?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
We have been involved in neighborhoods. Rural guides,
Okay,
JKR, Business Park,
perfect.
all those. It's familiar with the town, but not my stuff. It's the lead board, very good.
Excellent. All right, Judy, walk us through.
Thank you. So through the chair, this is a request for a subdivision extension. This property is in the Turner Valley side of Diamond Valley. It is between Main Street and Anderson Road, just on the south side of Dunham Lane. It is a 2.19 acre piece. It was originally zoned as R1X, but with the land use bylaw changed to 21-1114, it is now zoned R1. The proposed subdivision has 13 residential lots, including 2 MR lots that are there. And they vary in size between 438 square meters and 833. So the original subdivision was presented to the Municipal Planning Commission in 2018. It was approved at that time. And work was done on it. They needed an extension August 23rd, 2019, that was done through Gary Malecki, who was the planner of the day in Turner Valley. Second subdivision extension was approved by NPC on September 16th in 2020. And a third was, the request was received in August of 2021, and then payment was received and administration took it forward to the Municipal Planning Commission on February 16th of 2022. So we are here tonight to ask for a fourth and hopefully final subdivision extension, because we do have a potential developer who would like to purchase the property and go forward with the original 13 lot 2MR subdivision that was proposed. The development agreement is almost complete. The engineering drawings have been reviewed by NPE and approved. So we just need to move forward with that potentially new developer. If you've got technical questions, Aurora could address those.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing this forward, and I'm excited that there's potential buyers in line. Question I do have, and you probably answered it for me because it sounds like you're working with the original development agreement that the previous developer was working with.
Yes.
Is that why such a lengthy extension is required? Because that is my one concern. Is that we keep giving 12 months, keep giving 12 months, keep giving 12 months. Is there a way that really for me is a flag, to be quite honest?
Well, the current property owner did provide a letter indicating the processes that he is going through. He just felt the market was soft at that time to move forward with that type of product. He did try to get some builders in the community involved in the project to get it kickstarted. And now that they are he's just decided that the project, I think, isn't for him. And so the potential purchaser really does want to see it move forward. We only have currently probably less than 6 months available on the Turner Valley side of Diamond Valley for purchasing to build a home. So we really don't have much land that is available. So I see the potential for these lots to sell.
Yeah, just so as a follow-up, do we need the full 12 months to get this done?
It takes longer than you think sometimes.
Yeah, no, I understand.
The services in.
Yeah,
They've got to finish off the development agreement. Aurora could speak to his client's intentions much more than I could. I'm not.
yeah, I just want to make sure that because of the fact we have basically zero inventory in both of our towns for residential dwelling, we definitely need this property and this development to move forward in a timely fashion. So that's just where my concerns are.
Just to address that though, Councillor Gordon, it's prudent for the property owner, whoever that is, if it's a new person, it's prudent for them to get the services, and they're not making any money until they get the services in and register the subdivision, sell the lots, and get the building going. That's when they start to see some profit from their investment. So
And that would be
hopefully
why
they
we
would
need the
not
extension.
hold back. And
Thank
Laura, do you have anything to add for that with your potential developer? What their intention is?
Their intentions, they would like to proceed on, as soon as possible, as soon as they close on the, sale purchase. This is one of the major conditions from my client.
Well, this is a condition of sale.
Yes, that's from my client, who is potential buyer. Right. If extension to the subdivision approvals is being granted, then his intentions are to move towards executing the development agreement as soon as possible, and if possible, we can start, his intention is to start break the ground this year or early summer of 2024. So we have been involved as being with T-Fountain Consulting, did a lot of development in both of the towns. I'm well aware of the available inventory. I understand there's only 2 or 3 lots left in Riverwood Estates and not much. My client, I have given him a detailed where I am doing quite a big project with him in other places like Drumheller, Edmonton. And he would be interested to move aggressively here if it's about how soon we will start construction. Except there is always exceptionals, like we didn't know about the COVID. We had done work on other parcels, in the development perspective, but those things never proceeded. Particularly east end of Black Gun. We had things ready to go back and to maintain enough inventory available in towns there. So that is what our intention is at the moment for my clients. The rest will depend on how the council will decide tonight on extensions or not.
Thank you so much. That's
What would
perfect.
happen if the extension was not granted? Then you start all over?
My client probably, though, as he is just a potential developer or purchaser in this particular scenario, he might look at other options, maybe in this town or other towns, somewhere else.
Yep.
So.
Cindy?
Yeah, I have no concerns with granting it. But we did have questions on this that we said that we would answer, so I'd like to try and after the history. But I did have one problem that I did catch and wonder, and I can't remember. I know I was at the NPC that approved the original one. I'm pretty sure it's not 10% MR. Well, I don't know if there was a cash in lieu for the remaining.
No, I can research that because I was not,
Because I
I was there, but I wasn't.
extension, but if 10% MR hasn't been taken, it needs to be.
There is something, with that regard, and I can provide an answer.
Like widen the path on each side to make the 10% or cash in lieu, but the community needs to be made whole by what we're entitled, which is the 10% MR.
So there is a pathway along Dunham at the front there.
Yeah, it doesn't, if you do the math, it doesn't.
It doesn't add up. I'll have to
Yeah.
see what else. I'll look in the development agreement. On that piece of property, are you saying there's a pathway there? Intended pathway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, you know,
So addressing the people and the residents would like to see this as recreational. I think that ship has sailed, and the fact that we did sell it, we chose not to buy it back. When the developer didn't pull through, because we have the school land, we have park in Country Meadows. We don't have money to put a playground or any resort, anything there. So we had decided not to, or did we want to get into the development business? So we have passed it off. It's in the private hands now. So there's no interest from this council. I just want to address that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and-
I'm leaving it open.
Sorry, and then I have a comment, yeah.
And I understand that the offsite levies will be payable.
They would be, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
That was going to be part of my comment, is we refunded
We did.
the previously collected from 2018. Part of my consternation with this particular parcel is that I don't feel we captured the offsite levies to the quantity that the town deserves. Now, that's my personal opinion. But to be clear, the map shows 13 lots and a pathway, and I would expect the paving that would accompany that parcel and done for its potential parcel. In the previous, and I'm saying this to you, Bar, in the previous organization of the whole thing, certain things were left out in the development agreement. And I would be looking to see those things rectified to service the residents properly. And that is the only way I would vote to move this forward, that the development agreement be part of the discussion, because right now there is no development agreement. Or would this here grandfather development agreement through?
We would work with MPE to see if the development agreement, part of the beauty of this piece is that the engineering has been done and the development agreement is probably 90% done. So we could look at the development agreement again because it's not been signed. And I'll have to look at where the process is. I'll consult Jill from MPE and see, do we take that back to the Municipal Planning Commission? I think the development agreement, that ship has sailed, but the development agreement could be looked at and just gone through again to determine, is there anything else that we need to include, and Jill's a good authority on that. They've done development agreements before for the town. So I would consult with Jill Hardy to see what should be included in there that isn't currently.
Well, I guess that's what I'm asking. The 13 lots, we did public engagement, that's all been vetted, that's fine. But we identified after year, after year, after year of extension on this particular one, that we felt we were not being serviced. And we think that that was some of the reasons they never actually moved. But that being said, I think there's things in the development to address, and I want to make sure that that avenue of conversation is open for you and your client if we so choose to move forward, so that we can have an honest discussion on what's fair, what's reasonable, and what's an expectation and what's not. Does that sound about right?
Certainly, we would do a pre-planning meeting to go through and identify. And I also know with the new offsite levy bylaw, that area does have a designated, amounts that they need to pay. And so that's what they would go off of is that bylaw.
Brendan, you're up.
Yes. I'm just learning about all this, like, more or less since we got the agenda last week. I didn't have any history of this, so I'm just, I'm in support of the extension for the obvious reasons. We don't have enough developable land, but obviously there's a couple nuances here that need to be worked out. But I'm in support of giving them the extension.
Option.
You want the,
That
okay,
sounds like a motion.
okay, that is I'll give you,
Being verified.
Yeah.
Okay.
Verification of the word.
yeah, I'm just looking.
Right on the screen, Brendan.
Oh, thanks. And you want it as, or to include the MR.
Option one, clarification on it.
Well, Bart has.
Oh, sorry, Brad, sure, go ahead.
As part of the conditions on purchasing, the information my client and I myself have been disclosed by the previous owner that MRs have been dedicated and the drawings have been approved. So if the drawings, if we are going to revisit MR calculations, might involve to reprocess some of the engineering work. Most likely, on small developments like this, usually it is not very feasible to dedicate MRs broadly system that we can't do much here. So cash in lieu might be a better option to go with whatever the shortfall is, rather than having it a requirement as to dedicate the 10% green space.
Oh, yeah, you got larger lots on the east side, you could widen the path, but I'm fine with cash and lieu. I just want to make sure that it gets the 10% that we're.
Yes, but there is along the east property line, there is existing sanitary and storm and water line
Right.
are existing there, which are owned by the town, and they look like existing bigger lots, but when we will consider all the setbacks from the existing utilities, technically we will not have enough to maintain, to keep as a backyard and enough square footage left for the house print.
Right.
So.
Cash and lieu is fine. And I don't think it's usually even that much. It's just a small piece. Like we're talking about a few percent. Short, but we are on it, so.
Yes, recently, we took over on Blue Rock from others as well. That has a decent path system. And, we can connect the pathways from here.
Exactly.
That's a nice decent.
It is. And that's what we'd be looking for, is that connectivity is huge for this council and the community.
Yes.
So making sure that.
But I can't promise where will it go east of us.
Yeah.
At this point of time.
I think those things can be worked out.
Yes.
So we're okay as is.
Motion's been made, comment Heather?
Motion been made.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do option one, but it was gonna be with the MR. but
With
no, whatever.
administration following up on the MR.
Okay. Well, Brenda's gonna make it, but go ahead, comment.
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right, finish your motion.
The council approved the subdivision extension for 01-18 SD for a period of 12 months with the original standard conditions. Including
Ensuring 10% MR,
or cash.
either land or cash and wood.
You could say, I mean, yeah, MR considerations are met.
Ensuring 10% MR consideration, but to let them know, it needs to be by motion that we're amenable to cash and live, because that's always part of the issues, yeah.
And the development agreement is gonna have to come forward anyway, so that conversation can be had. Excellent. Further comments?
Let's get her done.
Barb, thank you for coming. It was very nice to have someone representing the property come, sit, answer some questions, add some clarity. So thank you very much for doing that.
Appreciate it.
All in favor? Yeah. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Staff report, response to questions related to the Dr. Landon Memorial Pool Program that we had at the last question period in July. That's 10.3. I will simplify this. We have it in writing. Everyone's read it. If there's anything you want to point out, by all means, point it out, but we can all read and it's part of the agenda for the public to read. So I'm quite happy with the answers provided. Staff, or sorry, council, any comments that you want to point out?
I think we'll see a big report in the fall and a lot of some recommendations.
Good. Excellent. Good. If you want to make a point, go ahead, but I'm good. We can accept for information.
Just one sec. Just one sec. I just want to reread something.
Yes, you have a little screen there. We got lots coming down. Oh, I got, where's my box of candy?
Anyone wants a can?
The council did candy.
Okay.
Great candy.
Can I ask my question?
You can answer.
Yeah. All directed to Ms. LeBlanc, I believe.
Yes,
So number 6, spray park operating hours are inconsistent with pool hours. One of the things that we talked about was that the spray park opens at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Monday to Friday, but doesn't open till lunchtime. It doesn't matter, or Saturday and Sunday it doesn't open till 12 o'clock. Doesn't matter to me if it's consistent with the pool hours. I'm just wondering why it's so late on the weekends. That was one of the things that was addressed that I've heard through the community.
Councillor Kelly, the pool doesn't open until later in the, on the weekends. There are typically rentals in the morning, but it's a different schedule.
Okay.
So that's typically voted on.
Okay. It is, okay, as a follow-up, if I may.
Yeah.
Public Works is at the rec facility every day. Does someone actually have to be at the pool working for the splash park to be open? Or does it just a matter of a lock that has to be unlocked and open?
Thank you. To answer that directly, yes, there has to be staff, just in case of emergencies.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
If I may,
Yes, please.
since the pool party was a week ago Monday, any recent report on that? How was the community involvement in on that on the 7th of August? Do you have any idea?
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Through the chair, I just heard that in general it was well attended and lots of fun and prizes. And there's a series of them that are being planned for the next couple of weekends.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Including the upcoming summer splash.
Cool.
One comment, and I don't know why it was on the radio in this format, but the Eagle was saying, hey, you know, it's hot. By all means, go to Okotoks Pool, go to the spray park, go to High River Pool, new rec center, go to the High River Water Park. No mention of Diamond Valley at all. And I thought that was kind of wrong. So I don't know if there's a campaign where someone is advertising for that and they just excluded us because we have a partnership with Okotoks to run it, but it was on the radio and I thought, wow, that is so bizarre that they wouldn't mention the outdoor pool in our spray park. So that's something that I'm gonna actually phone the Eagle and find out. But
Yeah, I can certainly look into it, at the Mayor Crane, but To my knowledge, there was no active campaign. We typically would be notified of that. We'd be either approached through the advertiser vendor or through the town of Okotoks if they wanted to do a cooperative type of joint venture.
Could have been a one-off, I don't know, but not very odd. So, okay, who gave me the motion to accept? Cindy? Bingo. That is 10.3, all in favor? For information, thank you. Arena rental rate review report. This one will actually get a little airtime.
Thank you. Mayor Crane and Council, if I may introduce this, I'm really delighted this evening to be joined by the recreation staff, and I would like to introduce you to Les Quinton. And I believe Lori Duquette, as well as Laura Levine, are here. And this is a team that has been operating the programs in the facility for the past many years. And we are revisiting this evening a council directive that was provided through the town of Black Diamond in 2022. And it was partially as a result of COVID to increase the amount of youth participation in sports, primarily at the arena. And it was the direction of council to reduce the rental rates. It came upon it was a decision that was made after also a presentation by one of the local groups. And there was a bit of discussion around that, and the rates were set at fairly reduced rates for the youth groups only. So what I'd like to do is invite the team up to talk a little bit about that, as well as be able to provide you with the research that's been conducted since then, and also the results of some public engagement that's held with stakeholder groups. And then a few recommendations going forward as far as the information that's been gathered, and then some of the proposed rates that we're offering up for consideration. So I'd like to invite the team up to here, and if we could get started on covering some of that. And so Lori, would you want to lead us? The background.
Who would like counsel? That's, I'm gonna give it to you.
Yes, of course. So we've had a number of discussions. We've had some research on what our rates are compared to other rates, using the age group and number of people in those areas. So we are fairly close to what most of them are. We had a meeting with some user groups, that's what they can afford and what. So we don't want to try to put the rates back up all at once because we don't want to be detrimental to our user groups.
Especially the locals. Yes, I really appreciate that you did go and actually discussed with them what they figured they could absorb, and
It was a great meeting.
yeah, that was awesome that you haven't sat down and talked. That goes a long ways.
Yes.
So thanks for doing that. Yeah.
So what it ended up with is we were looking at $5 per hour increase for our local youth. We also need to increase our adult rate. And we're also looking at, we've had 2 separate rates for non-prime from when I started. And we're looking at trying to eliminate it, so it's 1 rate for non-prime, and 1 rate for prime. That was it. Forget which rate we went with. Adults, we are about $15 low, but I would prefer not to increase it at $15, rather give it $5 increments so we don't lose a bunch of our adults. Well, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
And also, if I may, just a little bit of information and context. As a result of the reduction, there was a loss in revenue that was estimated at about $22,000. That was covered by reserves through the town of Black Diamond. So through that, we didn't see any direct effect or negative effect on any of the programs, but it did assist considerably in subsidizing those groups to be able to continue to participate. I'd like to hand it over a little bit to some of it to Laura Levine, who did an extensive amount of research. And I think that you'll find through the numbers that have been presented here this evening that really, we have been quite clear as far as our rates. I think that we're very competitive. And I think by moving that up to gradually try to provide some of the lost revenue that we had, a fair approach, and the groups are quite willing to accept that, or two of the three. I think you'll see some of the comments, but Laura Lee, did you have anything to add in terms of that research?
Not so much, for the most part, it's just when you're looking at these reports, we decided, from feedback from last year's, meeting, listening back to, the former president of High Country Minor Hockey, Candace Thompson. She brought up a lot of the fact that originally we were comparing to Calgary or Okotoks or larger centers. And so we wanted to make sure that we were getting a broad base, not just necessarily the locals, but getting a broad base and then basing it off of the actual percentage of youth within the different population bases. So as you can see here, I didn't put Calgary at all because it wasn't, it's not worth it. But Okotoks does fall just above at the 30% mark, where Diamond Valley is at 22% youth population. Vulcan, Stavely, Netton, who we often get compared to, are much lower as well. So. And then I did talk directly to Vulcan and Netton and Stavely, well, not Stavely, but Nanton, to find out why their rates are what they are and what the decisions are based on. So if you want more information on that, I'd be happy to let you know as well. So.
Brent?
And then Hazel. As a member of the men's league here, all the work that you guys have put in is outstanding. I know that the guys that I play with, the league that we play in, who Les knows quite well, Randy Brown and all the guys. To be completely honest, I anticipated a much larger increase, and for you guys, you have really gone outside of the box and your touch points have been fantastic. So not only am I in favor of this, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to do this, because I imagine you did this work on your own, like as a team, and to see the different percentages for youth groups in each community, and then you compare that back to ice times and stuff. It's just wonderful, and it really adds context. So for anyone that complains about rates or whatnot, it's all here, and you did a great job. So thank you. That's it for me, Mayor Crane.
Thank you. Councilor Martin?
I'm just gonna ask about, under the section of the Foothills County. So it says we can apply to the Foothills County to contribute to the capital costs associated with the SSR. But why is it not also to the ORA?
So, through the chair, with dealing with the ORA, we get an operational amount. It's dependent on how many youth in local sports, minor sports, use our facility. So they pay a lot larger amount. We do not have an agreement with them for the Scott Seaman. So the Scott Seaman, they have donated capital.
Are you looking to have an agreement put in place?
That would be up to.
As that goes back to ICS.
Yeah, that would be up to a whole new agreement, so.
And does the admin apply each year?
For capital?
Yes, we can apply.
Yes, we have not, because we haven't had our big main capital projects they put in were the construction of the Scott Seaman, and also putting the roof over the Scott Seaman.
If I may through council as well, in the frequently asked questions that I put together, there is a section that says, why is the SSR so much more than, sorry, not that one. There is, the Seaman family donates money to keep the rink running. That touches on the Calgary Foundation and the money that's contributed to the Scott Seaman. And then how does the Foothills County contribute to the arenas? And that breaks down the operational costs that the Foothills County does for the ORA.
And how much is that?
30 to 50.
For the ORA,
yeah,
it's usually anywhere from 100 to 115,000 a year. The operational grant, that's through the Calgary Foundation. You get 15 to 20,000 from them towards operational.
So if we have an ICF in place, we would get maybe another 150.
That'll be on us to have those conversations.
I think the ICF's in place yet.
But it has the potential to bring in additional revenue too.
If I may through council, so how it currently works right now, so in 2022, we'll received the $100,475. And that is based on I think it was 51 or 52% of the youth involved in the ORA who actually rent the ORA. So then from those, they cover 52% of those operational expenses. Okay. So it all depends on how many kids from Fairfax County are enrolled in figure skating or backcountry running.
I think Foothills County is still planning to build a rink in the future in Millerville. So that is part of the reasons why they didn't want to put into our operation for that facility. So that is still something that they are planning for, but I'm not sure when.
Yeah, you don't have to.
That's one of those discussions that.
With the county that's still ongoing. Yeah.
So, and yeah, we don't need to go down the rabbit hole, but yeah. We're working on it. Just say that. Okay, so let's get to the brass tacks. Options for increase. What are we doing? Option one, there's 6 bullet points here.
Yeah,
Are we doing all 6?
I'll give her to do it, or someone else can do it.
That's what I'm looking for.
Just one point of clarity on that before Brendan goes. The second to last bullet point, can you just clarify the increased adult prime and non-prime rate by 5 to 15? Which one is which?
The amount we are low currently compared to most other facilities is by about $15 per hour. So you prefer to do it at $5 increments.
So 5, but we'd slash out the 15 in that motion and stick with 5.
We don't want to put our adult groups out there as well. They're more part of the revenue.
Yeah, so thanks for clarifying. So make sure that just states $5.
Yeah.
You would be looking over the course of
15 over
3
3
years.
years. That's right. Yeah.
As a motion can't state that. It has to just stick with
5
this year.
I got you.
For 3 years.
And there's still something here. And what do we got?
But I'm going through the recommendations and the
Drop on.
$5 increase. So option one.
Yeah.
This
There's a proposed resolution and there's a recommendation. Vernon has half of the recommendation on it.
So, scroll.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because when I'm looking at the tables and ORA above, do they not have anything to do with the options? Like, so option one is being recommended, right? Well, come I have something different here?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I've got these. Do you have these?
I'm just on page 1 of it. Oh. Yeah, I'm on page 1 of it.
Thank you, Rick Crane. Yes, I can understand. The first one's a general motion, but the second one would be proposed and very specific in terms of what we're asking council to approve. So where it says proposed motion, the council approves the following adjustments to the oil fields regional arena rates.
So page 117 and 262.
So increase the local prime rate by $5 per hour. What will that rate be? 85?
125. Oh, for the local prime would be $125 per hour.
But last year it was 95.
No, last year it was 120 for the ORA.
Okay.
And we're actually asking not to increase the Scott statement.
Yeah, or the contract. Yes, I'm right on that. On hockey is supposed to be.
Okay, so page 117, Brendan, is what you're. rolling
Yeah.
off of. Okay, let me go back here.
If we're not doing the 15, we're doing the 5. 117 says 15.
Yeah, just change it.
Yeah, I'll just say 5. Yeah, because it was just 5 dash. Yeah. I got it.
Where you go, or all.
I got it, yeah.
The boys can, the adult boys can afford to pay that.
I'll do a bottle drive around the community, come to the place. Bottles for my fees. Just kidding. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you option number 1, correct? We're off and running here. Okay, the council approves the following adjustments to the Oilfield or Regional Arena and Scott Seaman Sports Rink ice rentals, incorporating the following considerations. Increase to the local prime rate by $5 per hour. Consolation of the non-prime rate into 1 rate. Increase of the non-local prime rate by $5. Maintain the non-prime rate to 2022 to 2023 levels. And increase adult prime rate and non-prime rates by $5 to more closely align with other arenas. And also increase daily rental rates in accordance with above changes. Is that okay?
Sure. Okay, Ms. White.
Consolidating.
Go ahead.
I guess I can.
There's parts that's put in quite fine. That's true.
Settle my kid.
Really well.
There you go. Any further comments?
No.
All in favor?
No.
Then that's carried.
Thank you.
Great report.
And do we say thank you to Les or do
Great detail.
we say thanks to Les?
I think you should.
Thank you. And happy retirement. That's what I wanted to do.
When are you heading off to the green pasture?
See a white pasture by then.
Final day of work would be October 31st.
Oh, okay, good.
Be on the books till the.
So big Halloween
Are
party?
you dressed up?
I'm planning to go to Hawaii.
Oh.
Yeah. Snowbirding, and there you go, Hawaii.
Okay, Catherine, yes, and Les is taking on a leadership project management position in the meantime. There's a number of other outstanding projects that we really want and need his help with in terms of prior to him leaving us. And so that's what he'll be working on. In the meantime, I want to welcome Lori, who's now taken over as the supervisor.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Look forward to another successful year down the free. All right, well done. FCSS board resignation, give me a motion.
Do this all give it everything.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Margaret, the first member at large position on the FCSS board and requests administration and the lovely letter thanking her for her service to the community.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. So yeah, if you could get a letter done up for Margaret, I'll sign that. And we thank her for her time. And we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Okay, we are at the portion of the agenda where we are looking at giving out a bunch of money through the community support grant. In the effort of eating things off the floor, as Margaret just gave me. I just put it in my mouth.
Yes, that's the.
Because we have this fabulous organization, the Diamond Valley Citizens on Patrol, who I had the pleasure of Friday night driving with a couple of 2 very funny gentlemen there a few weeks back. 10.13, because we have one of their members in attendance. I would like to just move to that one first so they can hear our debate around the grant, and then we'll move back to the regular order. Is that okay for you? 10.13.
If I may, Mayor Crane, I'd like to preface all of the community support grant applications with a few comments prior.
Sure.
If you're okay with that.
You can lead off with your comments.
Gilbert?
Okay, sure. Right.
I need a motion to take the agenda out of order, please.
Sure. I give you a motion to move 10.13 into the 10.1 slot, sorry, not 10.1, the 10.6 slot to address with expedited. Expedited, thank you.
Application.
All in favor of that motion? Thank you, there you go. Okay.
Thank you. I'll make my comments brief, but you'll recall that we had first come to council requesting that we would look at consolidating essentially 3 different grant applications between the former town of Black Diamond and former town of Turner Valley. And with that, have provided council with a new policy that really tried to address all of those different needs. In the meantime, we had a number of requests that went directly to council and not through any particular process, which could be seen potentially as community support grant applications, but they were pre, not post. So lessons learned along the way is that first, there was no maximum placed on any of these grant requests. And that was done deliberately, essentially just to see where they might land. So some were events where they're asking to be supported very similarly to what the music festival had requested earlier on. And so that they would provide the support needed to be able to present a particular event. And others where they're really just supporting an initiative very similar to what we're going to hear from the Diamond Valley COP, which, range typically between that $500 and $1,500 mark. So I would just say that I believe there's some amendments to the policy that are required, but to keep that all in mind, at the moment, I tried to provide as much information, given the vast changes and types of applications that we received. They were done really at very different levels, and remembering that most of these groups are volunteers, so they really put their best effort forward to try and do that. Anyway, if you want to get started, then I can certainly provide comments, but I think on the first one, if you're going with the Diamond Valley COP, it pretty much speaks for itself. But I can try and answer any questions, or we can ask one of the members that's in the gallery this evening to be able to assist.
Let's do it this way. I'll take a motion. Cindy.
I don't have it in front of me, but I put a motion to approve. I think it was $500.
Yep.
I'm happy to have them do what they do, volunteering, drive around, play the night. Like, you couldn't ask for better people than that, so appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Happy to bring it.
Telling me to shut my garage door when it's dark, you'll get caught.
I've been caught.
They caught me a couple times.
Yeah, I've been caught.
I did it myself once.
Yeah, I think somebody did my own. All of a sudden I hear the garage door, it's like, oops.
Right?
That's really neat. Yeah.
So there you go. Excellent. All in favor?
Nice.
Thank you.
Sorry, kept me so late. Seriously.
Thank you for what you do in our community. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
We're trying to help out.
That's
We are. We're a good bunch.
You are. Thank you.
Great role models.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, back to 10.6, the Diamond Valley Youth Foundation Community Support Grant application. So here we have a new group of individuals who've started off a community support group for youth. I've met these ladies. They set up tents at their Diamond Valley days. They were at the rink, or not the rink, the skate park opening. They've been active in trying to raise awareness. I think they're a great group. I'll give a motion to support for $1,000.
That's second, yeah.
Yep, gonna go to the line.
Question. Is it, how much is in the community support grant? We know that number. Yeah, in the fund.
It's coming.
Yes, so I should preface that as well. 2 other things that I forgot to mention is that in terms of the budget itself, that would have to be pulled from economic development funds that have not been expended at this particular time, which also includes event funding. And the number that I was looking at was 25,000. That would be available. However, CEO Middleton has confirmed that we would have up to 50,000 that would be available. It's still allowing the EDC budget sufficient remaining for other projects. Now, that's not to say that it would be recommended that all of that be assigned. It is something that requires some parameters. The other point I wanted to make is that it does say in the policy that if the applicant is eligible for FCSS funding, then it wouldn't be eligible for community support grants. I would like for council to disregard that in this particular round, primarily because the FCSS funds are first provincial funds, but they're used for very different purposes than some of these projects, and many of these would not be eligible. They could apply, but they wouldn't necessarily be meeting the criteria for that particular grant.
I got Hazel with a follow-up finish. Okay, we'll come over here.
So I just wanted to know how much was in, how much is budgeted. And I don't think we have seen the list of, groups that we've given money to in the first 6 months.
That's an excellent observation, and thank you, Councillor Martin. I have asked that it be posted. I don't have the full amounts because I'm not quite sure what's been paid out as yet, but if you take a look here, we've had a request of 48,100 to date. And so far, what's been issued is 18,000 to the Diamond Valley Chamber of Commerce for the music festival. Hard Knocks had requested initially 13,000, and that did not proceed. And then Stars was granted, I believe, $3 per capita. My estimate there was 16,500, but I don't know what the status is, and I don't know where that would have normally come from, if it was from a grant program or somewhere else. I don't, emergency funds or something.
So if I may, through the chair, so that original amount in, under the previous Black Diamond, it came under Fresque. So they had it under a different program than we would currently have it under. In the town of Turner Valley, we've not sponsored Stars in the past. So this is, of course, something from Black Diamond, but now it's been added to per capita. So now it encompasses Turner Valley as well. And so I mean, in the interest of being fair to all of the organizations that are coming forward, I think there also needs to be a point in time where we're not going to be able to probably provide funding to every single organization that comes forward. For one thing, that the value of what those organizations are coming forward with is starting to get quite large. It's not just, you know, $250 here, $500 here. So Ms. LeBlanc and I have had lots of dialogue over how going forward we're going to manage these particular organizations when they come forward and their asks, and then, you know, in the interest of council's time, and we have 7 of these to go through, and in, you know, administration's time, we need to really look at how we're going to manage this, because these asks are getting quite large.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we factor in as well the ask that we received tonight for an additional $7,000, when we've already given that 18,000, like, we really need to think hard about what we're providing financial support for, because it's getting, the asks are getting quite large.
Good segue, because we wanted to have that conversation. So I'll go to Gordon, I go to Heather, and I go to Cindy.
So
Gordon.
dealing with the motion that regarding the Diamond Valley Youth Foundation here, I love those foundations that support our children. The concern I have here with my fundraising background is that they're focusing on fundraising to support the 2 elementary schools, correct?
Yes.
And we have 2 schools that have their own parent teachers association that does the very same thing. And in my experience, when you have 2 competing organizations fundraising, you actually raise less than you do if there's just one. And that's just a reality in human nature. So I'm a little bit concerned that they're not working more in tandem to join together and collaborate. I totally understand that there's needs in our community for our children. Our school divisions are getting their budget slashed and cut, and so that's there. So that's a major concern I have. And also the fundraising that they're hoping to achieve here. It would be great if they were fully aware that fundraising through sales of food and things like this, it's very difficult to really get the amount that they're looking for, rather than just meeting what their costs are. So I do have concerns about this because of where that event is and the nature of it. That's my opinion.
Heather, then Cindy.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Gordon. Also, I have a question for Manette. This appears to be a new group it's a foundation that would be a nonprofit, I'm imagining. Also, could this not be one that we could refer back to FCSS?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Thompson. Not entirely sure if it would qualify.
Yeah, I just
I'd have to do more
pretty
information.
vague.
I can advise that with an FCSS application, there's 18 pages of detail that's required. So it's 7 months per year. For this amount, I'm not sure if they could promote volunteerism and they could, because what FCSS will not do is support any funding for something that's already covered by another organization within the government of Alberta. So education should be paying for educational initiatives. So I don't think it would qualify. It depends though. There's certain ones that do, such as the Family Liaison Council.
Great, and further to that. Sorry, further to that. Thank you, Manette. The event that they're holding is they're fundraising for this event that they're holding, that they're going to raise money at for what? That's kind of not explained in here, for future events, or what are they? Their application really doesn't say. Yeah, what the plan is. So they're asking for this money. And what are they actually raising the money for? You know what I mean? Like, I'm maybe not explaining myself very well. But they're raising funds for 2 deserving elementary schools in Diamond Valley. But what for? How are they gonna support the kids? What are they doing for the kids that they're raising the money for? Which again goes back to Councillor Gordon's, that they both have parent-teacher groups in each school. So I don't think this one has enough information to move forward with it, and I would not move this one forward at this time.
Would you like them to come in as a delegation? Would that help, Council?
Or more, like you're raising
I
funds,
would
what are you
like
doing?
an application. I would, that's in my support. Have them come to the next meeting, so
Cindy?
and just we can.
Let's go Cindy and then we'll probably go. Cindy?
My biggest thing, well, they are showing a profit of 20 grand, so why are we asking taxpayers? Right, so that was my first issue with it, but mainly we had set up this community support grant for if people were using the Flyer and Derrick for a really good cause, and they help offset the fee. So I don't like the $1,000, I'm happy with $500 that we always gave every organization when they booked, say the Arena or the.
All right.
Whatever, like that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Is $500 for you if you were using the Flyer and Derrick and to offset your fees, not, I don't know, I guess maybe if then the event didn't go through or they chose a different space, I guess you get some issues, but accepting it in good faith that they were going to book the player. I'm happy with $500. I don't wanna, I've got delegation to death for people asking me for money, so I don't really want it. I'd rather just say, book the flare and you have $500.
Does it not say in there, Councillor Holiday, that the event is gonna be held at?
Yeah, it is. I know, but as long as that doesn't change, we gave, that's what I saw the purpose of this. For these small little organizations holding events, it was to help offset.
And then if you.
The rental.
Yeah.
Budget.
You could give them 500.
That's a
So-
that's good advice.
I
I'd be okay with that.
I can make an amendment to the $500. And we can move it.
And I'm sure there's some sort of stipulation on it that if the event doesn't happen, it gets returned to us, or no? There is, okay.
So, yes, thank you. All of these require some type of an agreement, but obviously when you start getting into the larger amounts, if they're actually agreed to, such as the music festival, there has to be an outline of what the roles and responsibilities are and what, if there's any financial deficits, who's responsible for those. So in the cases that it's in the house, final reports are required, but really for the $500, it's meant to offset costs in either presenting an event or some kind of a project. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just for offsetting the rental costs of the Fire and Dare. It could be marketing costs, it could be anything to help promote the events. You know, it's only limited by imagination. We received, I think, 7 or 8 applications, and they're all very different, looking at different reasons, and all feel that they're that they should be eligible and that they're all valuable. But really, I feel that it needs to be tightened up a little bit going forward. So where we had it very clear at 500, often council was frustrated because it felt that maybe that particular application deserved to be augmented, it needed to be increased, but we didn't have a policy to allow that.
Glover, and then I'm gonna make my revision.
So just a bit of funny background, Black Diamond always had $1,500 caps, and ours was supposed to, you know, enhance the cultural experience or bring tourists or whatever. They had to demonstrate that they were going to give something back to the local economy. But we'd always get, and Turner Valley donated $500. And Black Diamond Council was like, well, why do they keep donating $500? And we always give more. That's not fair.
That's that's good.
That's funny.
Okay, so tell you what, I'm gonna friendly amendment to my motion to 500, call it that. I'm gonna call the question all in favor. Okay, that's carried. Now, can we have a quick conversation before we go and look at the rest of these?
Yeah.
Because we've all kind of pinned it out, let's just lay it on the table. Some of these are outrageous amounts, and we don't even want to entertain the discussion.
Yes,
So
yes, thank you.
we should revert back to something of what Monica is talking about, even what Veronica just mentioned. 1,500 max, 1,000 max, 500 max. We should agree on a max here
Before we discuss further.
before we waste our time bantering and beating everything up. What's it gonna be? And then we're gonna have to set some direction for Monica to go away, do some revision to the policy so we can actually bring it back. But
500 for you. As in for community, and I don't know, that's it.
well, that's what we,
1,500 if you beg really nice.
before anyone makes a motion, like I rushed and said 1,000, and then we came back. Let's have a quick bang, bang, bang across the board. And then do a little bit of, okay, I think this is, and then get the motion, right?
But we couldn't have done the music festival one if we had those kind of limits,
Yeah.
is what she's saying.
Yeah.
So we do, but we do need to set precedents, and I think we do that here tonight. And having, you know, the detailed sheet every time we look at these every 3 months and how much is in the budget
Yeah.
and how much we gave last year and, you know, who else has come and who we expect to come later in the year. That lets us be a little more informed. I don't know. But, and it should be, they probably, do they ever ask you kind of how much they should ask for? Is that ever good? So if you say, you know, if you're just holding an event, that's a good thing, then they'll usually give you $500. That is an administrator you could do.
Yes, if I may respond to that directly.
Sure.
What I've found is that those that are asking for more have seen that precedence was set, right? That there's groups that are coming that don't really have to go through this process. And yet it's valid. It's just a different kind of application. If we're looking to contract, think of it that way. We're looking to contract a group to be able to present a particular event. So if we were to contract the Diamond Valley Chamber of Commerce to host a July 1st Canada Day, anything close to that music festival, then are we going as a municipality to commit to providing a certain amount annually? Because that may be what the ask is. And if that were the case, I would be providing them, or we would develop an agreement that clearly outlines those responsibilities. Quick example of that would be dealing with the Boys and Girls Club this year for the management of the parade, operations of the parade. They were familiar with it. It's a fundraiser for them. We paid them a contracted fee to be able to take that on. It was within the budget of that particular event. That was the difference. It didn't have to come out of additional reserves or anywhere else. So that's where I'm a bit perplexed, is if there is a group locally that wants to actually take a portion of or present an event, it might be new, or it might be something that the town was doing in the past. right? We have light up coming up. We have New Year's Eve, and what you'll see in front of you is the Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Group that would like to host the portion that it did last year. Well, is there a possibility that they may want to take a little bit more on? So we're back to even service levels and reviewing what expectations council has of staff that's quite limited, both in budget and resources, to be able to put on these events. So if we can work with another group, if we can potentially contract with another group that can do it really well, and I mean something that has to be done professionally, then is there value there to increase the amount of grant that they receive to be able to do that?
Quick question. So, for example, using the exact same thing, Sustainable Living Center wants to do New Year's. If that's in the budget on your end, then why are we looking at that kind of thing? If you know what I mean? Like if we've covered it off in the budget and there's 60 grand, and you're like, I can achieve that event, and that event, and that event using these 3 community players, bang, 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 then that would be more of just an update to council of here's what I've got planned, just keeping me informed. Would that be the same, or is this the process that we need to go through as a council to be accountable? You know, because it is a bit of a double-edged kind of.
I think it's 2 separate pieces. I think one should be kept to the community support grant, very similar to the former town of Turner Valley, where one was corporate support, the other one was community support. You want money for your golf tournament, this is the way that you applied for it. So it was a public record. You wanted help with a smaller event or fundraiser, then here was your maximum amount, and council could look at them. And instead of doing intakes 4 times a year or 3 times a year, it would be something that was brought forward as soon as it was received. Now what I find is everything's a scramble at the last minute. They're throwing things together as information the best they can. There isn't really sufficient time to consult with them properly. I happen to have taken a week off during that time. So, you come back and now you're really scrambling. So I think it's a balance between where we're trying to offset some of our staff resources by partnering with other groups to enhance the event. And that means that it would be a larger amount that they'd be requesting if we're handing that over, which would be part of the budget. But otherwise, it's staff's responsibility to undertake that. Right now, we're going to have, for example, between Light Up and New Year's Eve, basically less than a month to do both. And we have a staff of, if you combine all of it, it's hardly 1 person full time.
Heather, then Bro.
I kind of wish that we could separate this out a bit, because I see the Ian Tyson Memorial Music Festival or Music Festival as a purely economic development endeavor. We're trying to make this a destination community. I don't think that it falls under the community support grant at all. It should not be that, or not brewery application. That's attracting people to the community. That's EDC type thing. These applications here that we have in front of us, the Youth Foundation, yeah, they're gonna use a facility and they're doing something in our community for our kids. Boys and Girls Club, I mean, it is a bit more of an ask than I would approve, but same thing, like it's not economic development related. It's doing something for the youth, giving them something to do. Diamond Valley Sustainable Living, that would be them doing something for us in exchange for being paid. I don't know that that should be a community support grant application or just a contract. Sheep Creek Arts Council Community Support Grant application. They do support seniors, and they are starting to support, do some youth type work there with the Arts Council. So this one is I don't mind. They are doing something for the people that live in the community. It's not attracting people to the community to spend their bucks. Most Beautiful Art Tour. I don't know about that one. That's economic development to me.
They bring a lot of people in.
The Ben Steiger and Young Cowboys Memorial Golf Tournament, those, the funds for that they raise, they give scholarships every year at our school for that one. So I think that we're getting, we need to separate this out somehow. Like, stars should be, again, I don't think it's community support. It should be under that. That's
Can we put that under emergency services?
somewhere else.
Let me try and explain, if I can, on this one, is that I compiled those together just to demonstrate some of the requests that council's had to date. And where do those come out? So some are events, some are fundraisers and corporate sponsorship. And others are really simply just a little bit of seed money to be able to offset some costs so that these folks can run their event.
Yeah, and then my other comment to go along with that, with the EDC and stuff, why is all the funding in the EDC envelope? It should be like it was in Turner Valley or even in Black Diamond. It wasn't under EDC, those grant funding, I'm sure it wasn't in Black Diamond. I don't remember ever seeing that.
Yeah, it was like events.
Yeah, so it needs to be under its own line item for these ones, like if the community support grant budget line item, not economic development. And it'd be a dedicated, and we're going into that with budget discussions and everything. So that's what I'd like to see this do. But for now, we need to get through these and decide what we're doing.
We're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna take this to committee of whole for full debate.
Do you want to motion?
You just need to go through each one as presented and look at it, because there's no sense in trying to figure out, we're trying to go backwards. And then we're gonna try to look at these again.
How about nobody gets money tonight? We're gonna talk this out.
Other than everybody.
Yeah, we have to figure this out.
I think
September 12th is a month away.
I think it's pretty easy, some of these.
Some of these are low
No,
hanging
no,
fruit.
I don't think so. I think, but I used to hate doing these, and I hated to give out sponsorship swag buckets, because it was always, well, I think it's a good event and I want to give more, and let's throw in an extra hat, and then just.
not even through one.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
there is some low hanging fruit though. But
So if I may, through the chair, so we have a grouping of different grant requests.
Okay.
So some of these are coming out of different buckets. So for example, the Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Center for Family New Year's Eve, it's coming out of our budget for the New Year's Eve function. We have a budget for that.
No, she just said no.
Sorry to correct you, but on this, it's for the later portion. We'd have to negotiate if they would take over the full event.
Yes.
It doesn't include all aspects
No.
of it. There would be an additional, it costs about $10,000 to run that event, what the town typically does.
But if it's $8,500, only the latter event, none of us are interested, I don't think.
Why aren't they just doing the room event?
Sorry, I should say that it does encompass all of it, but it doesn't necessarily encompass all of the activities.
No, but it's.
So that would be one of those that's negotiated, and I do think that they're capable. I know that last year I was really impressed with the number of volunteers that came out. They did a super job in hosting that portion of it. So in all fairness, I do think that that would be one where we could negotiate. Now, do we negotiate with those that are showing interest, or do we have to actually put it out in public? So I'm hearing from council that we need to tighten this up back to what I would call a community support grant fund that would have a map and the corporate support. Those could be blended, but not to include those larger events.
all right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to state what it is. We're gonna vote on if we're gonna talk about it now or defer it. That'll be the motion. For the cow. If it stays here, we're gonna make a motion on some money. If not, it's going to the cow for September, and we're gonna go right through these. Just like that. Let's do that good.
Can I do that?
Does it sound good though?
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
there you go. So
do we
Diamond
not-
Valley,
do we not have did we already vote on yours?
Yeah.
500?
Yep, that one.
Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure.
So our next one is
The BGC,
Boys and Girls Club Foothills.
defer.
Okay, motion
I'm making a motion to defer that one.
to community,
It's
COW,
COW.
thank you. I can't even say it.
It's okay.
September 12th, right?
You can't make decisions on these at committee of the whole.
No, we're sending them there to debate.
Can I just ask one question on that one?
Sure.
Is this something that we've ever done or ever paid for in our history, or is this brand new?
I don't.
That they've always been running this and now they're just asking for money? I don't know how they got money. Can we just say no? How did they get money before?
They've got government grants.
Because we are just.
Yeah.
We did the. This is double dipping.
Yeah.
Other foots in the door.
You don't want to say double dipping.
Not double dipping.
About what the girls talk, but that's what I'm saying.
So we're gonna look.
Because we opened the door, council, because we opened the door through these large amount of requests that we approved,
But the responsibility.
without a cap, we gave them the opportunity to ask for money. Now we all agree, bad call. When every one of us was saying it, bad call, we need to come back. So the best we can do is say, thank you for applying. We gotta do a little more homework, and that's what we're gonna do on September 3rd or 12th, would be debate what we actually want this thing to look like, put the parameters on it, send back, here's the new parameters, make your request. If it's deferred. If it's small enough here that we feel comfortable with the 600s and 500s, like the Diamond Valley and the other one, we just get that done and move on. But like I said before, some of these numbers, I'm not even gonna want to talk about until we have parameters. And I think you guys are all in the same boat. So the best we can do is defer the ones that we need to talk about or deny them and say,
Like,
apply in 2 months.
yeah, we have two options, deny or defer or accept. So we have three. So,
So Cindy's not wrong. We could just deny.
Yeah.
And inform.
I'll retract it for if you guys wanted to deny, it doesn't matter to me.
I'll go to Veronica for last comment and then we're gonna make action on that because we gotta get moving, guys.
yeah.
Veronica, what's your thought there?
Okay, nobody gets any money, let's move on, we'll talk about it at the cow and we'll have new parameters.
None of the asks,
Another, there's some that I'm totally.
as long as there's nothing that's upcoming, I'm fine with deferring until September.
Yes.
Like if nothing is between now and September 12th, and they need the money or they're asking for it between now and then, I'm fine to get the parameters right.
Tiger is.
But what Vern is saying is we can't approve any of these funding
Right,
requests
so
at
it
the
would
committee of the whole. So what good is it?
18th of September, they would have to come back to council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that has to be
Really need
clear.
to make a decision.
So we need
Yeah,
to,
can I just say 500 to Ben Steiger,
That motion,
as
make
the
it-
motion.
okay, hold on, we're gonna go through Boys and Girls Club first, right?
We've always done 500. It's always been fine. I don't feel like doubling it.
So let's just go in order.
Doubling it. Just do, well, I have it up there.
But that's.
That's what we're going to
Yeah.
Boys and Girls Club.
Bruna, can you fill?
And Boys Girls Club for $3,000.
The agenda.
Do 500.
Defer.
Defer that one.
Give money from FCSF.
They did get money from the FCSF, but not for this program.
And for
So
that,
they've always run this program, but it never had.
This is new program. They're running.
Okay, do we have a motion
Defer.
to defer? A motion to defer? Any comments?
No.
This one needs to be different.
Heather?
Okay.
All in favor? It's deferred to a future council,
to be
not even a date,
Steiger.
just a future council.
Next is the Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Center.
Deferred.
Deny. I make a motion that we deny the request from the Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Center through and support that application as requested.
I think this, right.
Yep, no, you may.
There's a whole bigger conversation about New Year's that needs to happen. I would rather defer it to administration to get more information.
So if I may, the reason I support the motion to deny is because of that bigger conversation. I think that if we're going to get somebody to an external organizer to do it, it needs to go out to tender.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
All right, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right,
That's the motion to deny.
okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay. Community sports festival events application, where am I here down in Sheep Creek Arts? That where we're at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you that motion.
Thank you.
Council approved Sheep Creek Arts Council Community Support Fund grant application request on the amount of $500.
I support that.
Debate?
You know, I'm just gonna make a comment as to why I support this. Heather mentioned a lot of misconceptions are that it's just the seniors. They've actually raise their membership in the younger than 14. And then my understanding as well, they just got a federal government grant of almost 30,000, and they've invested in digital art pieces that they can do on tablets, iPad, like a whole bunch of stuff. And they're hoping to really concentrate on the teenagers now, those that are beyond the age of 14. So I think it's a great request, and it really does support the community.
Nice.
I still have the chair.
Oh, you
I-
do treasurer.
Yeah, I'm the treasurer. So
It's big.
this is money that's gonna go towards their art show that they're having this weekend out at the Millville Fair.
Well, good. Thanks.
Okay, so we're gonna be your trustee people.
All in favor? Bingo. Okay, thank you. Most beautiful art tour of Alberta Community Sport Grant, Veronica.
You wanna make that motion, please? I think, we give them $500. This is, very well received. I mean, there's a lot of folks that come in to the community for the Alberta Arts Weekend, and they do a really good job.
I attended it on and off over the years. I thought it was amazing. Like just
Yeah.
stellar, really good stuff. So
Yeah.
fully support that.
Great time to get introduced to the studio.
All in favor?
I just have one other comment.
Sure.
The group is local,
Yeah,
so
Good point.
I totally support it.
All in favor?
Yep.
Done. And SPCA,
I'll give you that for 500.
Cindy for 5. Do I have 6? Seeing none, all in favor? SPCA, no brainer.
Good.
There you go. You're gonna make this one too.
Ben Steiger.
I'll do that one too.
Yeah. 500 for Ben Steiger, straight up, no requirement for golfers or anything like that. I attended the Black and Gold this year, just to make comment. He did present to a couple of students. Yeah, it was a really good Black and Golds. There's a lot of scholarships out there. And this is one of those good ones where he's going for that blue collar kid who's, you know, the carpenter, the tradesman, who's got a work ethic that's stellar, and that's who he targets. He doesn't go for that high achieving, you know, I'm getting the 9s. He's going for a blue collar kid who's gonna get dirty and is gonna be a hard worker. So, all in favor?
Yeah, great job.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we do meetings like this, Brendan?
Oh, we had to get our parameters. Once we got our parameters, they were starting to fly through, but
It's $500.
we were back and forth, like, we were trying to figure out like 3 things at the same time.
We got the
This is
COP
challenging.
We've already done that.
DLP is done. And got it?
And then accept the report and information.
Yeah. So, I'll take the motion for 11.1, financial plan timeline deadlines.
I'll give you that motion.
We're gonna motion to accept for information. I'm gonna go to Corinne. Is there anything you'd like to add? In regards to set 11.1?
Just if I may, through the chair, we'll be looking at these corporate donations, special events, and all of them in significant detail come budget time. Because I think part of it too, and with the combination of bringing together of 2 communities and trying to determine what events and who sponsors what, and I think it's left us in some instances going, well, last year Black Diamond did this, Turner Valley did this. And so having 1 year under our belt to really take a look at this program and how we're going to manage it, I think will give us a really solid idea of how, as I'm making notes, how we want to kind of proceed forward to make it a little bit easier for everybody.
For sure.
But no, I think the budget, I think if I may, just trying to perhaps determine a date when we can do perhaps a full day budget discussion. We have not done this in the past, and where we have gone hung up is we've needed to do it, and at the last 9th hour, we've had to do it. So I'm gonna try and get some doodle pull out where we can look at some dates and get everyone in the room together to have a full day session to go through the budgets.
Sounds good. It can be on a Saturday too, if need be, for those that are going back to work.
Yeah, but it will try to give you really a lot of notice in order to get some dates out, and then really getting some engagement on the public participation side. I think it's going to be really critical.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any comments to Corinne from financial plan timelines, deadlines?
No, but you'll do a doodle poll for that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got lots of budget in this yet, so. Okay, motion to accept for information. Who gave you that?
I did.
All in favor?
Or Heather got this.
Nice.
Thank you. RV parking survey results are extensive.
Yes.
Veronica.
I'd like to make a motion that this definitely comes to the September cow. We can't just personally accept this as information.
No.
This needs to be delved into.
Absolutely.
Good call.
Just I'm not saying, no, the clock is gone, but I know it's getting late.
Well, there's pages of comments.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you
and
guys
Oh, there's a good one.
comment?
There's really.
I think what you're doing
So does it have to come back to the cow?
No,
he's gonna need to be at the cap.
Oh, you're gonna get the cow?
Oh, yeah. What I would like to do just briefly is, the question around RVs that we did see.
There's.
Where, what one, where?
It was one.
Jackie Cassidy?
It's in there.
No, it's on email.
Yeah, it was the email.
From Jackie Cassidy, had asked about the parameters of the survey, I think, with the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, basically why, yeah.
Summer was an unfortunate time to do it.
So, yeah, Nick, give us a.
Thank you, Mayor Crane. Would we be able to just address a little bit about this and then we can park it, excuse the pun, and move on to whatever council wishes. But it was really felt that there had to be some public engagement. We wanted this so that we'd be able to provide residents with some direction prior to the season being over and them making decisions about whether or not they had to store off-site. So part of it was really meant as a courtesy, and then it became something a little bit more than that. I thought that the questions were clear and meaningful. Certainly there was no bias and definitely no disrespect for what had happened before or anybody who may have different opinions. We don't go in there with any kind of an opinion. We were trying to seek that. So when I hear that many comments and questioning sort of the integrity of the value of the questionnaire or the survey, then I just wonder what's the concern. So if the concern is, no, they're not in favor, then we can appreciate that as well. These numbers are low, but typically public response is, anything around 8 or 12% is considered fairly positive. That's something where you don't get that kind of uptake typically in most communities. So, depending on, it's one piece of information that we are recommending council consider. There's a lot of comments in here that really do need to be absorbed and thought about.
Mhm.
And if we're not making a decision this year, recall that there's two different bylaws right now. So, something just again, the messiness of trying to consolidate what the former Black Diamond and the former Cherry Valley did and how we approach things quite differently.
Thank you. I would say 472 responses, pretty good, since, a flood mitigation open house dragged in 3 people. So talk about what's important to you, right? People are kind of NIMBY in my backyard, not really caring about the bigger picture so much as what they see directly every day. So I think it's a great start, and it gives us lots of food to digest for a good committee of the whole discussion to really put a hammer and a nail to this thing and give us some teeth for down the road. So I'll give a motion to accept a motion to defer to the committee of the whole on September 12th for proper debate. It is Veronica's motion.
Oh, I'm gonna accept for information.
Oh, no. Veronica, you whispered it to me first and said that's what I want to do. Heather.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
And we've got the survey. We can have a really good discussion on the 12th. All in favor? Yeah, so we'll only be about 8 hours on the 12th discussing all these things
I think that we need another motion.
for RV.
Because if we don't do it, we're gonna be in big caca. I think that we direct administration to respond to Ms. Cassidy's questions, please.
Oh, yeah, provide an email response. Good call.
All questions,
Good call.
the
Yeah, well,
questions tonight, so.
I just don't want it to slip, so
Sure.
if you could provide basically the same response that you gave to us, Minnick.
Yes, this still.
And then the second question on that email as well.
Yeah, she had two parts to that email.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is that part of the package or could you send it to?
I don't think we need to direct, she'll just do that, eh?
And that other question should be not.
Then I'll.
It's
fine, I just, first ones, just didn't know.
Yeah, doesn't ladies. Well, that one's dealt with, so response to the Dunham Lane email as well. Regarding what's happening on 211.
Yeah, we,
Yeah.
So through motion, we can.
Just follow up with what
Just
was
follow
decided
up.
tonight that we.
That's.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vernon. Okay, we have no motion on the floor. All motions are voted on. No. Yours is all in favor? Deferred.
That was voted on, the motion to direct staff to respond to question period.
That was the one we voted on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Done. Cemetery board minutes and Foothills Regional landfill. I give you a motion to accept for information. All in favor? 13-4.
Just wait.
Oh,
I don't want Vernon to.
CAO Middleton has reminded us we have admin inquiries that were submitted.
these ones.
Yes.
From Hazel.
You're at that point in the agenda. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, well, those are voted on, so we'll leave those, we'll just backtrack here to, 12. So we had, one from Jonathan and two from Hazel, is that right?
Yeah.
So mayor's message, easy enough, we got one in September, we'll write her up. And I'm not sure, I do have to ask, I've had a mayor's newsletter in every utility bill except one in the last 2 years.
They've not for some time.
On the back of the utility bills.
That if I may.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
There had been some confusion around that, in terms of a couple of things. It was very labor intensive to be able to put it into the utility bills when we consolidated. We were trying to get more people onto the email bills and it would be an attachment to that. Where we've landed going forward is that monthly there will be, I can't remember quite where we've landed, but there's a municipal message that will be posted in Western Wheel. There will be bi-monthly in the utility bills printed. Will be a double-sided copy. One side will be the mayor's message. The other one will be the most critical topics. So if you have any that you feel need to be just support research, and all of it will probably get pushed back to the website. So the information can be there, but we won't probably be able to put as much detail in the newsletter, understanding that. We will also be printing copies that will be dropped off at all of our public facilities, including the senior lodge, the medical centers, dentist office, Sheep River Library, municipal office and arena and such. So we hope that there will be at least 3 touch points for the newsletter on more or less a monthly basis.
All right.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, that's one. Detailed infrastructure work completed on Fifth Street. What was completed, funding allotment used for the project and its cost.
Yes, you can, I can answer this question to the chair. So we did a couple of things on Fifth Avenue. We had some pipe collapse. So we had to remove some old catch basins and pipe. And we had to put some new catch basins and pipe in. And we put some concrete curbs and partial driveway by the fire station. Overall, this project cost $130,000. It was funded through operations. We have $225,000 in our repairs and maintenance for roads, and we had $8,000 that went to sewer repair. So, and just to expand on this, so that road was crumbling anyway, and you know the problem with going in and starting these digs on a gravel road, it's very difficult to go back and put it as is and have gravel. So plus this is the same road where all of our fire department and they're bringing their heavy vehicles on that road. So in the interest of protecting the infrastructure underneath, Craig came to me and suggested that we pave it. So we had money in the budget and we hadn't used it yet. So we determined that we were gonna repair that road.
I think it's great.
So do I.
Paving roads is a great thing.
Got a bit of ways to go, but
We do, but step by step, I love it. Thank you.
Looks good to our fire hall.
I wish Craig was here, but I'm just shocked that the curling rink costs more to pave than to do all that road work. I'm surprised to hear that, because it was like 125,000, yeah, to do a parking lot, which was flat and prepped. And yet you did infrastructure upgrades, added curbs, and it was less. So I'm just very shocked to hear that. I wish he was here to answer
It
why.
wasn't deep infrastructure, it wasn't water and sewer, it was just
No.
gutter storm.
gutters.
But basin collection, yeah, but still, they didn't do any of that at the hockey rink, or at the curling rink, they just poured a flat pavement.
Square footage, it's pretty big.
Town should have crews down.
Anyways, I'm just curious, I'm kind of surprised, overall, I'm very happy to see it done. But when you said that number, I was expecting you to say $500,000 to do that, to do over there, because we just spent forward to do those two roads by Dairy Queen. Yeah,
Pretty good.
yeah, I'm shocked that it was that cheap. Cool, thanks for the update.
Thank you. Accept administrative inquiries, as information. I'll give you that motion. All in favor? Excellent. 14, correspondence, municipal affairs letter for funding, RCMC reporting, West Wind's financial audit, Bridges of Love, F. Tumush, Mesh, Demish, M. Sable, RV parking, we'll just add that to our. Yeah. Anything in there that we want to discuss?
When you go to the RV parking, because I think that's pertinent to that, so have it reminded to us in the knowledge.
But if not, yeah, we could have the Sable letter regarding RV parking added to our 5 pages of written concerns. Just for another one. Anybody want to comment on anything in the correspondence from 14.1 to 14.6? You have 4 minutes. Heather?
I'm just happy to see people are acknowledging Emmy's work and how quickly they're coming to the service of our residents and helping them out. So great work to Simon and you guys for doing that.
Anything else?
I'll give you that motion. You have all the correspondence, that information.
Excellent. All in favor? That's carried. Mr. Gordon, Councilor Gordon, your zero-based budgeting presentation, you have 4 minutes.
I'm not going to go into the background of that. All I'm going to do is read the notice of motion, trusting that each of us have already read the introduction and the other pieces. So my notice of motion surrounds the importance of zero-based budgeting. Whereas the town of Diamond Valley completed its 2023 budgets based primarily on past need, with consideration of immediate needs to do the amalgamation prior to accepting the 2023 to 2025 strategic plan. And whereas the Council of Diamond Valley completed its strategic plan based on our mandated responsibility of ensuring the long-term viability of our community. And whereas zero-based budgeting ensures financial transparency as it focuses on efficiencies and the justification of expenses while ensuring those expenses are aligned with strategic goals while providing measurable outcomes. Now therefore be it resolved that Town Council reaffirms its commitment to excellence in governance and directs administration to implement zero-based budgeting for the current budget cycle, ensuring efficiencies are found, expenses are justified, and activities are aligned with our strategic goals.
Perfect. We don't need to vote on notice of motion. That's going to come to our September 6th.
Yeah, next meeting.
September 6th. Okay. Anything else, council?
We still have 2 minutes.
Well, I know, I think we
If you want to do anything else.
You know, like, hey, nice haircut.
Yeah, thanks, man. I gotta go do breakfast tomorrow after this. It's great.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow morning,
Can't wait.
Rolling Barrage. Who
Oh, I
gonna
wish
go?
I could be there.
I'm going.
You're
I'll
gonna
go.
go?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll go.
And Hazel, perfect.
Yeah.
All right,
You're
you're gonna help,
Legion?
you're gonna, yep, let's go Legion for 7:30
Yeah.
and help for breakfast and then you might be at the safety work.
Okay.
Yeah, she's probably okay.
I got my typical one-liners, it's fine.
Yeah, no, you'll see it's
It'll
pretty,
be fun.
pretty big crew. So talk to
It will
Paul.
be a big group, sure.
We have about 150 bikers. They get
Really?
Yeah.
Like motorcyclists?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's Rolling Barrage.
Oh, well, I, that's why I asked you, but all you said was PTSD. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, you'll be impressed.
Okay.
Fire hall, you serve breakfast.
Okay.
So you guys are basically complimenting the car.
Okay.
Um,
Do you need to
Wow,
adjourn?
stayed for that whole meeting, really?